Tuto epizodu vám přináší Land of Liberty.
Hadry a mnohem víc pro každého střelce. Jděte na landofliberty.cz.
Czech Firearms podcast.
Shall we?
That's up to you.
Right.
I'm always ready.
Let's go for that.
Let's go for that.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Czech Firearms podcast. My name is Lucas, and we have Carl from Check My Guns.
Hello.
And today we can welcome two gentlemen from United States of America, Brian Nelson and Mr. Joshua Cardenas.
Yes. Howdy.
Hello.
I'm very sorry if I messed up your names. I didn't mean it. But these gentlemen came for shooting a match in here and do some training and maybe shoot some other matches, I believe. So let me welcome you. Every guest of the Czech Firearms podcast gets a gift.
Oh, sick.
So there,
awesome.
Here you go, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Now you will be all branded.
Perfect.
And you can spread the name of our podcast across the ocean.
I like it. Is it Dequi that was
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
Děkuji.
Nice.
Oh, wait, you say in the States, thank you.
No, we generally don't say that. We're very rude.
All right. Yeah, I was planning to do an introduction, but I will kindly ask you to introduce yourself if you can. We can start with Brian right here, and then we can, carry on.
Okay, yeah. Well, my name is Brian Nelson. I've been shooting for pretty much all my life, so grew up really in American gun culture. Started competing when I was basically first match when I was 10 years old. I'm 27 now, so 17 years of competitive shooting pretty much without a break. Centered kind of my life around shooting and marksmanship now as much as I was able, which has been really great. So, I work with Josh together. We are involved in some projects in both firearms training and bringing changes from the civilian competitive shooting world, like practical shooting, into the U.S. military. As a competitor for the last long-ass time, I started shooting in IDPA, the International Defensive Pistol Association.
Okay.
That was the first thing. It was shooting, 9mm pistols from the fishing vest and the whole thing, if you've seen what one of those matches looks like, which was a great way to get started because it is pretty simple and, you can shoot a match easily with gear you already have, and you can do it, but it does get kind of boring. So pretty shortly after that, we found USPSA. My dad and I, we competed together for, a long time together.
Okay.
Started shooting in USPSA, which is like IPSC, more dynamic. There's more going on there. And then moved on to shooting 3-gun and a little bit of cowboy action. And then I started competing. My first international match was in 2017, and that was the IPSC Rifle World Shoot.
Okay.
So in IPSC, I shoot everything, and I try to focus on one gun every year. So last year it was rifle because we had the Rifle World Shoot in Finland, which Josh also shot. And I ended up placing 7th. And then last year was kind of the big highlight year for me in competition with long guns for the Rifle World Shoot. I was able to place 2nd at our pistol caliber carbine nationals, and I was able to win the practical division of the PCSL nationals, which is a fairly new 2-gun sport.
Yep.
So
It's getting in there, or in here, I would say.
Yeah. I know there's some PCSL here
we
that
love the sport
Beach is
too.
running in Tabard.
Perfect.
Tabor. Sorry. Yeah.
No. How about you, Josh?
Yeah, so again, my name is Joshua Cardenas. People call me Cardi or Cardi B as a nickname, so I just kind of ran with that for my life while I was in the military. But quite the opposite from Brian. I didn't grow up with firearms, didn't with guns. I grew up in Southern California, right outside of Los Angeles.
Okay.
So didn't have any of that available to me. I've always had a fascination with firearms. I loved the training side. I liked that whole world, but I wasn't able to do anything just because I couldn't afford it, nor was I legally allowed to do so. And my family were very much against guns and that culture. So I ended up doing
California.
Growing up in
I
California.
Mean, imagine
exactly.
that, right?
Yeah.
But no, the only outlet that I had at the time was airsoft because I was able to.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would do a lot of airsoft in that area. I would practice a lot with airsoft, so drawing or presentations. At the time, I didn't know what I was doing necessarily. I just knew that this is the important things that I need to do to be able to shoot an opponent quicker. And I eventually made a decision to join the military, so I was in the United States Marine Corps. And I did 8 years active, and it wasn't until the Marine Corps that I actually got a opportunity to pursue like the competitive world as far as shooting goes.
Oh, okay.
So in the Marine Corps we have a shooting team that does all sorts of different disciplines. At the time I was getting started, they had bullseye, so a lot of like high power bullseye pistol. They had a practical shooting team. It wasn't as big as the other bullseye or the other disciplines just because of the time period it was at. But I had joined the team or was selected as what we call a summer augment. And basically they host various competitions around the Marine Corps as far as where the bases are located. And they'll host a competition there. You as a Joe Schmo can go and compete the match with whatever unit you're with, and from there, if you receive a medal, so if you place a certain top percentage of that match, you receive a medal, which is also an invitation to shoot like the championship match for the Marine Corps.
Okay.
So I did that. I did well. I ended up doing okay. I got selected as a augment for the team, and my first ever like introduction to the sports was I was immediately put into 3-gun. Like never shot competition in my life, didn't shoot shotguns in that way, rifles in that manner. They were just like, "Oh, congratulations, welcome to the team. Here's 3 guns and let's go train." And I was like, "This is awesome!" Like I was a guy that didn't have that, like what I wanted the most in my life. I wasn't allowed to have, and now I have that opportunity to just do it like every single day. So it was like the happiest point in my career in the military, but also the happiest point in my life was that 3-month period of just being able to just wake up in the morning, go to the range, shoot a lot on 3 platforms that I never really got to shoot really ever, and then go and travel and compete. So, but yeah, after that, I got eventually, I did my Marine Corps thing. I got orders to become a permanent member with the team, and now that's where I kind of started getting connected with Brian at that point. With not only as a competitor, I was mainly shooting USPSA at that point with the team, but I eventually moved on to doing a development piece of marksmanship for the Marine Corps, and then we were using the system the package that we provide as far as the scoring technology, and that's how I got connected with that. So and then I started working with Brian, and now we're here.
If I can have a question, if you look back, how hard was it to get in that certain percentage to get qualified for the championship with the Marine Corps?
I have 2 opinions. At the time, right, with no training, no background, just like whatever I knew, just shooting, it was hard because I don't have a foundation of training. Or anything for that matter. I just knew that I needed to draw a gun faster and shoot a gun as accurate and as fast as I could, but I didn't understand what necessarily that meant. Obviously, compared to what I know now, at this point of my, I guess, experience and time and stuff, it's not as hard as you think. It just takes a dedication of time, discipline and effort to just do the thing, right? To train on and get yourself comfortable within that, area of shooting, because people are very used to just the qualifications and they're not used to shooting and reloading and moving with a rifle. It's very strange that you don't think about that, but that's not a common thing that people know how to do. So at the time, it was hard. It definitely was a challenging thing for me to get to that point. But nowadays, I look back, not so much. You just have to be disciplined enough to put the effort to work. So
yeah, and that actually brings us to the topic of you guys providing and training facilities for the Marine Corps, right?
Not really facilities. So in the same way that electronic scoring works for practical shooting, like Practice Score, if you've used that, I know they use it here in Czech. IPSC has like the IROA ESS kind of thing too. So we developed Practice Score, scoring technologies, and that was a project that my father started for our use as a practical shooting club. Provided electronic scoring for shooting sports that was reasonable. Like there was some old Palm Pilot stuff, but it kind of when we started, it wasn't very good. So it's a scoring app for a smartphone that provides scoring immediately. The Marine Corps, the entire professional gun-carrying world is, by and large, still scoring on paper, and that limits how they can train. They can't do speed and accuracy together because it's just too much effort for someone to do. You have to be kind of a psycho to keep track of it on paper with a shot timer, and it just doesn't scale. So what Scoring Tech, the company that Josh and I both work for, provides is an electronic scoring system for military and law enforcement applications that makes it easy to do speed and accuracy together. And so where the training piece comes in is we are also, as a service, offer, because we have people like Josh and myself and some other phenomenal instructors from both the military, with both the military background and serious competitive shooting shops and just marksmanship shops in general. And I'm the only one that was never in the military in the company. we provide that solution where like we'll help you with your instructors and programs get better at time and accuracy because we can provide the simple solution to measure it, and we have people who know how to do it and apply it both individually at a high level and at scale.
Yeah. So it's like a complex. It's not like just providing the services of helping with the results, I would say, or with collecting and kind of managing the results. But it's also like a services, you guys are instructors.
Very
right?
much so, yeah. It's something like my old job, where we met, was at a firearms instruction company called Tactical Performance Center, which I don't work for anymore, but it's an awesome place to get training. My good friend Ross and Hristov runs it.
I can tell.
Yeah, we had Rosen in one of the first episodes, I would say.
It's like maybe
it was like
number
the 5th, 6th,
Yeah,
something like that.
I love Ross. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Every time I go home to St. George, I like to connect with him, and we go out to have beer and pizza and stuff. But
okay.
So taking that training experience that we had, but what I get to see now is the complete picture of something that's never existed before, is the ability to easily get real data on and actually make data-driven solutions on what drives training or equipment selection or anything, where we kind of like we were always operating off of things that we thought were true, and we'd kind of measure with simple things. Like we'd have little drills we could run in class and track it, but we could only do a couple or 3 repetitions, and we couldn't really parse that easily because we'd write it down on paper or maybe have like a simple practice score match. Where designing something from the ground up for as a military and law enforcement almost is like a research tool. If we know that there's a fixed course of fire, it's not freestyle, you can't shoot as many rounds as you want and everything, we can assign a behavior to a shot, then I can look at the average with Bluetooth shot timers that we have now. I can look at the average of, let's just say, something simple like a bill drill. You know, draw your pistol, shoot 6 rounds at a USPSA target. I know that shot 1 is a draw. And if I have 200 people do a draw, I know the average draw for all of those people. And if I change something in the training program, did that lead to faster draws, the same draws, whatever, as well as I track what all the hits are. Did that lead to better hits, the same hits, or did it get worse? If I change something in how we do recoil control, does that lead to the average split or standard deviation of splits for the next 5 shots amongst, again, 200 people? You can actually make real data-driven decisions instead of previously everything was kind of driven by I think, I feel.
Yeah.
Right? Or we think this leads to this outcome, but we don't really know because we can't really track it without having someone having basically a psycho that's like.
I got you.
You know,
and I
tracking
believe
everything
this
on
works.
paper.
This works pretty well for armed forces because they are very data driven, I believe.
Yeah, and rightfully so. I mean, you're making big decisions about things that, number one, you have to succeed at, right? Because if you don't, it costs lives and costs mission success.
Yeah.
As well as you're spending like bandwidth, literal resources, right? Hey, we're going to spend, hey, for this cycle of this company, we're going to give them 1 million rounds of 5.56 to train with. Does that help? And are we doing it right? Or are we wasting a limited resource and ammunition and time?
Yeah, especially with the Army or Marine Corps, you have a lot of people that needs to go through the system.
Yep.
So you need that system to be consistent, to be the same measurable. So yeah, I believe, and that's great. I would like to try that actually, to shoot it and measure it and then compare it.
I mean, there was one of my impressions. So I joined the course of TPC, and that's actually where we met for the first time back in 2020. And the big part of the class was a bunch of Marine Corps guys. And I was quite impressed by that because in the first place, I realized that there is a armed force spending significant resources for training their people. And I really consider that TPC like a high quality, very specifically oriented kind of tool to help you with the shooting. That's I purposefully chose it, right? And it was actually refreshing for me seeing like Marine Corps guys in there and trying to improve their skills. So that was like a big shock for me because it's not very common in here. I mean, it's getting better and better as we speak. Yeah. But mainly for special forces or for like top tier guys, really. So then they have budget, right? But what I've seen was quite impressive. So like motivated guys, wanting to improve themselves, and that was like a first wow moment. And then the second one was with the quality of the actual course and with you guys.
That's what we get when we are talking to the military guys from the Czech army here. That's what we get most of the time from usually the guys who are with the military for 10 plus years, that they had to like do it on their own, you know, to buy ammo, to go and shoot on their own, because there was no budget, and the army was generally like underpaid on this. So they, I don't know how many rounds they shot per year during the duty time, like just a couple dozens, nothing really like that's
Not
high.
the big numbers.
Yeah, not a big number.
Also depends on the unit, but as far as I know, it's getting better as we speak. So there are a lot of improvements in there, but what I really seen was really like something different. And as you mentioned, it's really data oriented, and decisions are made based on the real data and the numbers, which is good. And as far as I know, kind of law enforcement and military guys are very data driven, and they want to make decisions based on the data and based on the or for reason, I would say. So that's pretty cool.
Well, we jump straight in to this like quite heavy topic with the data, but I want to ask, you started with when you were 10 years old. What was your first gun?
So the first gun that I learned to shoot with was much earlier than that. I think it was 4 or 5. It was a Henry Youth Model 22 lever action.
Lever action, right?
Oh, nice! What an American way to start.
It is,
start
and it
shooting.
set the tone for a lot of things to come. I still love lever guns. It's partly it's an American thing, but also like
this
that's
is like
what
a
I like.
big trend in here nowadays. So everyone wants to have these. I would love to own one with the M-Lock furniture and all those modern stuff I see from Chris Costa.
That's very modern. Yes.
Yeah, but it's fun. Yeah.
And how about you?
You're gonna like this. Well, technically, it was a 870 shotgun, but it was a Shadow 2, CZ Shadow 2. Was my
Oh,
first.
nice.
Yeah. Remember, like I didn't grow up with guns, so like it was my first my first pistol that I ever really used like hardcore was an SPO1 Accu Shadow. That was the first one I ever used. That's what I used in not practical. I'm sorry. What's that division in 3 gun? I forgot already.
TAC Optics.
TAC Ops. So in TAC Ops, it was iron sights. So it was a CZ custom, trigger job, and it was an Accu Shadow version. So that's what I used, and that's what I learned on was a Shadow.
Okay.
Or an SP1 platform. So that's like majority of my training that came from that. And eventually I popped my first handgun, which was a Shadow 2. And that's what I did 2 seasons. My majority of my career was a Shadow 2.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very nice. Good stuff. Good start.
And my following question is, what did you ended up with actually? So did you see any bridge to what you use nowadays?
Not really. I mean, just it kind of came down with like my ecosystem. Like, what was I using the most of the time, or most of the time? And in this case, the Marine Corps has adopted the M18, M17. The Marine Corps uses M18, and so the SIG, ecosystem was around, and it's just easier to just use the same type of equipment on my personal end, just because I have all those materials available to me.
Yeah.
So I ended up just going with SIG. I bought a Legion, and then I ended up just buying other things and just slowly upgrading. So now I'm on my final iteration of my 320. You can say it's a gray gun slide. We both shoot for Brower. So we have the Brower. I run the plastic or the aluminum grip.
Okay.
And yeah, just run it as is. So
yeah,
not really picky necessarily anymore. I used to be very picky on pay attention to like the trigger weights and how certain things are done, and just like I was very detail oriented in how things were built on my handgun specifically, because it's what I spent most of my time was in USPSA, and now I just kind of don't really care, to be honest. I'll just give me a pistol, I'll learn it, I'll run it, and once I kind of figure out the timing and everything else, I'll run it. So it doesn't really matter. But SIG for now, just because it's the ecosystem. It's hard to
makes
get
a lot
away
of
from.
sense. Yeah. How about you?
So I shoot for Terran Tactical and for Brower Solutions. So for normal pistol stuff, when I say normal pistol stuff, it basically means a SIG P320. For kind of the same reasons as Josh. I did help bring the Brower M1811 grip module kind of to the market. Like I did no design work, but I was one of the first people that like beta tested it and tried to put it out there. And that's a grip module for the SIG P320 that is the same shape and angle as a 1911.
Okay.
Okay.
And the 1811 is a very simple grip module that's pretty much the same weight as the standard SIG module. The texture's not super aggressive. It's just by changing the weight, changing the shape and the angle, it gives you better shooting characteristics. Ergonomics is one of those things that I hate to see the phrase used because it doesn't really mean anything. It's like it's ergonomically superior, but that 1911 shape and angle, part of the reason why that pistol, which is also another, like the first serious pistol I used for competition was a 1911 in 45. There's a trend here.
Two World Wars. Exactly.
Hell yeah, brother.
Created by God.
Yeah. The most compelling case for Mormonism is just John Moses Browning. But it's the same shape and angle. There's a reason the 1911 and 2011 is the most dominant pistol for performance shooting. It's like I saw an Instagram post a few days ago. It's like, yeah, if John Browning had just made the 1911 double stack to begin with, like 90% of pistols just wouldn't exist, right? But 2011's won damn near everything that it's allowed in. 1911 single stack was like the default bullseye gun for at least American bullseye sports.
Yeah.
So we just said, look, that works. Let's just put that on a SIG because the angle on the magazine is close enough that you could just do it. And that takes that gun, which is, normally like a regular P320, putting aside all the jokes about like they go off by themselves or they blow up or whatever.
Well, SIGs just shot themselves in the leg with that latest post,
man.
So it just stirred up everybody.
Oh,
and
yeah.
everybody started posting the videos.
And that's one where
Aren't you sick of it?
I am sick of it.
Yeah, but it's like, this is a gun that's like a reasonable price. It's between $400 and $600 for a base model somewhere. Already optics ready. The magazines are like, they're not cheap, but they're like readily. Actually, with the Magpul mags now, they're cheap. They work. You can just buy them and take them out of the wrapper and put them in the gun, and they just work. Which for a 2011, 1911 guy is like amazing. So it's either that or I shoot a TTI Sandviper, which is the top end, open and carry out or open and limited optics 2011.
Yeah. How about long guns? So what long guns do you use and why AK?
Yeah, I built an AK, and I have a couple AKs because I'm a gun guy, and in being a gun guy, like you
have
should
to
probably
own one.
have
At
an
least
AK.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like the most common.
Come on, do you have
family of
AK?
No, I wish to have one.
Come on.
I want my AKM 7.62. Yeah, I need one.
I have VZ58 at least.
Oh, that's still cool though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I have two.
It's like an AK.
Give me one.
Yeah, it's like an AK, except like it's better made, but also just kind of from what I've seen, they don't work very well.
Now you've seen just the bad videos.
Yeah,
It's like with the 6-hour
because there were different variants for the US market, so we usually send the crap out there. So
absolutely.
That's what they say. No, but so what do you really use for the long guns?
That depends. So for rifles, now I'm kind of just shooting a gun that I built. It depends on what the application is. So like the rifle I shot at the World Shoot started life as a Terran Tactical TR1, which is the base, or not base, their kind of flagship AR. And it's fantastic. It's probably the best valued performance AR out there, and it's kind of a sleeper. I don't think a lot of people realize what they're getting in that gun for the price. But for shooting IPSC and being me, the size that I am and the way that I shoot, right? I'm a big, ugly son of a bitch. So it's the same lower. Eventually you change stuff as you go to where it's like it's a different stock now. But shooting an 18-inch barrel, like a Mark 12 an actual Mark 12 profile white oak barrel, so on the heavy side, kind of a longer 17-inch aluminum handguard to be on the heavy side deliberately.
Okay.
Like that gun is heavy.
Yeah.
Because for that sport, for IPSC, it's beneficial to have a heavy gun that doesn't move very much. Yeah, and you're shooting a lot of offhand at difficult targets. Like, yeah, and then a bunch of unrivaled performance parts. They're buffer, titanium bolt carrier, muzzle brake, and adjustable gas.
Yeah. Big shout out to Zach and Kyle.
Yeah.
Great guys.
Super.
How about the shotgun?
The shotgun. So I have been shooting a Terran Tactical Benelli M2. I used to shoot in Standard Division in IPSC and then Tactical Division for 3-gun. The amount of work that Josh and I both do for rifle, the practice that we have, it got to be too much for me to try to maintain that same level of skill with a regular shotgun, which also happened to coincide with a really cool collaboration between Terran Tactical and Genesis Arms.
Okay.
So I shoot a Genesis Gen 12 Dracaris. So it's the Dracaris 3G.
Is
So
it the
it's-
same gun used in the John Wick movie?
Yeah, in the John Wick, was it 3 was the
I
last one?
believe?
4?
4, yeah. The Dragon Breath
Yeah,
gun.
so
Yeah.
that was the short version. That's I think it's a 10-inch barrel or a 10.3.
Okay.
This is actually a specific competition shooting model for 3-gun and IPSC that is an 18-inch barrel with a compensator. It's cut for chokes. It's really fantastic. And it shoots like a big, dumb PCC because it's 12 gauge.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Wow.
I see. Yeah. I just a little bit regret why didn't we just bring the guns on the table?
I wasn't sure if that was cool.
Yeah, it is.
We should have done that.
It is absolutely good.
I was actually going to suggest that, but I wasn't.
That was actually dumb not to doing so.
Can we still do it?
Yeah, sure. We can just pause and we can
just
just
go get our stuff. Yeah, and then like, oh, we're back. By the
yeah,
way,
we're back with the guns.
Well, let's go for it.
Let's do it.
Tuto epizodu vám přináší Land of Liberty.
Hadry a mnohem víc pro každého střelce. Jděte na landofliberty.cz.
Snap, we are back. What a miracle.
There we go.
Here we go.
You wish for guns and they appear.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome in Czech Republic, land of liberty. All right, so now we can have the actual walkthrough your guns. So we ended up the discussion with the shotgun.
Yeah, so we'll talk about this.
Here we
This is the, for those who are watching, I am holding a gun. It is not pointed at anyone yet. We'll see how it goes. It might be in my mouth at the end, but yeah, this is the Genesis Arms Gen 12. This is the Terran Tactical Dracaris 3G model. So if you've seen John Wick 4, there was a short barrel version of this gun in that movie. It was a collaboration. This is the same thing, but it's with an eye towards competitive shooting. So we have an 18-inch barrel. We have a compensator that's pretty clever in how it's designed. It's cut for chokes, which is something you need for competitive shooting, especially for... you just need it for competitive shooting in general, for R3 gun or for IPSC.
So it's ported barrel for the compensator because usually the compensator is at the very end, right?
Correct, yeah. So the way that the Genesis works, it's short recoil and the barrel itself reciprocates. So I'm going to show it
got
to you
it.
now, and you guys might be able to hear this.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
As I push down on the barrel, it actually reciprocates, and that's how the bolt unlocks.
Right.
And so if you mount, it's kind of like a pistol in that those are also short recoil. The more weight I hang on the end of the barrel, the more braking effects I add to stop the barrel from moving, the less reliable it becomes.
Yeah.
So the solution, and the first person who did something like this was a friend of mine named Patrick Kelly. He ported the barrel underneath and then redirected the gases with a compensator mounted to the handguard. So this is a different version of that same style of brake that TTI and Genesis came up with. It's actually physically mounted to the handguard, and the barrel is ported in an expansion chamber behind the comp. So it's pretty effective. It works
So
quite
there's
well.
no additional weight on the barrel.
Correct, and it's very reliable
still
even
doing the
with
purpose.
standard. For us, it would be my standard load for this is 1 ounce, 1290 feet per second, or European ammo. That would basically be your standard 28 gram target load.
Okay.
I'm shooting this match Thursday and Friday at the European Shotgun Championship warm up in Hungary, actually.
Nice.
And I will shoot the European Shotgun Championship with the same gun.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, and then it is actually like an AR-10 in that the upper receiver is compatible with DPMS pattern 308 AR lowers. So
Okay.
yeah, the magazines are pretty fantastic. Like anything, they can wear out and cause problems when they do wear out, but it's like shooting an AR. And so getting back to like not doing special training to shoot a gun that has a sporting stock and a vent rib and load it differently. This loads like a big dumb AR, and it shoots fantastically fast. And the training difference between what I do normally for the other competition I do or the stuff that we do for training for work,
Yeah.
carries over a lot more so.
I also recognize the R15 controls and trigger,
Yep,
which is also good, well appreciated kind of fact, right?
Yep. You don't have to relearn. If you want to shoot open, for example, in 3-gun or in IPSC, the dominant platform has been like a Russian Vepr based or like Kalashnikov USA, which is out of business, so I don't know what we're going to do now. But even at high end, you'd have to relearn AK controls. And so for me, where I pick up this gun, now and then to shoot a 3-gun match if my primary focus is on rifle, or like we've had some qualifier matches for our Shotgun World Shoot teams. I can pick this up and the skill doesn't decay and everything works the same way as my other guns.
That's perfect.
Yep. To the point where, like, Josh is not a shotgun shooter. Not hardly at all. You did like 3 months of 3-gun as a summer shooter for the Marine Corps team.
Yeah, and then took a 4-year break. I never shot it again.
And then when you came to work at Scoring Tech, we made a little trip and we shot a pretty fantastic little 3-gun match called Memorial 3-gun. It's not little. It's probably the biggest 3-gun match now in the U.S.
Okay.
And you shot Gen 12, and basically, like, it went fine.
Yeah, did okay. Did
Just kind of the point.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But what's cool about that platform is that, like, that specific shotgun is that's a 308 lower, right? So that's a pattern lower where you can just take that upper off and put a 308 upper on that thing, and it'll work.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah. And John Wick was using that.
and Keanu Reeves was using it with Dragon's Breath, yeah.
Can I hold it?
Sure can.
There's an American tax. Give me $2.
And we'll
It's not
play
as heavy as I would expect.
No,
actually.
so
and we'll play some dumb European questions. So this particular rifle was not held by Keanu Reeves. Anyway. Yeah, you wish you had the opportunity to shoot it.
No,
right?
yeah, absolutely, man. I would love to.
Yeah, and so you just run just Acro and that's it.
Yeah, so that's fairly new, and Aimpoint is one of my sponsors for this year, but I've been using Aimpoint red dots for the last 4 or 5 years, kind of because they're robust, and I'm very lucky in every big thing in my life, and really not lucky with small things. So, like, I find the other red dots from the other little companies that break or lose zero or something, and Aimpoint USA, they're actually in Manassas, Virginia. Josh and I went up there to pick some stuff up. It was really cool because they're an importer for a Swedish company. It's a Swedish red dot. Like, and
we fucking love Aimpoint.
To handle all of their warranty. This was really what was telling to me, is like, to handle all of their warranty claims and repairs in the U.S., there's like a dude, one guy. Now there's 2 because they picked up a military contract for the for the mall's fire control thing. But if you have an Aimpoint go bad, it happens so infrequently. They don't have to have more than one dude to fix it.
Yeah. We actually had the opportunity to visit the facility in Sweden.
That must have been awesome. I hope I get to do
Yeah.
it.
Oh yeah, you guys have to.
Was impressive.
Once you are close enough to get there,
Yeah.
just give them a call, and they are the most. They provide the best hospitality.
Well,
ever.
Their hospitality, in my experience, has already been astounding. I remember one particular night at SHOT Show with just buckets of beers.
Yeah.
Treasure Island,
You
where
just
we
need
were
to have
all
a
there.
pin or get the pin, and then you can,
Yeah.
go ahead. But their buffet, and they're super known for the hospitality. We've been kind of working with them, or just being friends with them for a bunch of years already, and we had the opportunity to be part of their events, the best events in the industry.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. And the buffet in there, that's the whole of the
I would
experience.
imagine
You can
that's cool
drop
stuff.
your own beer in the factory.
Yeah.
What? What? We should have that. We are Czechs, right? We
Yeah.
should have that.
Yeah.
Do you have it? No.
No.
So, yeah.
I just wonder if I ever shot actually the semi-automatic magazine fed shotgun.
You've never shot one?
I've shot the one with tubular mags, like
Yeah.
the one beneath it, but not with the AR-10 style magazine.
Yeah, but this is not a regular shotgun you find.
Of course it's not. Of course.
Yeah.
It's a special tool.
I mean, there are other... So there are other, like, AR-shaped... I'll call them AR-shaped shotguns,
Yeah.
because the Turks make, like, the
Yeah.
dirty...
They have everything, basically.
and Huglu, and yeah.
That's what I shot.
And we have some of those, and they're inexpensive, and that's great. I had one, a Rock Island VR80, and it was great for a $600 gun to decide if I liked the magazine-fed shotgun thing. They just aren't durable, unfortunately.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how about the second rifle you have?
Yeah, so this is very
Looks like a
interesting.
Vietnam to me.
and unique.
Your grandpa brought it from Vietnam, or?
Correct,
Yeah,
yes. This was actually
War
this was there.
trophy.
Yeah. So this is so the backstory on this is I was selected for the PCC World Shoot team for the United States in the iron sight division. So I didn't qualify for the optics because I've only shot our nationals twice. We don't have iron sight PCC in the United States as a division. So they kind of filled that in with just like, we don't know who to pick. We don't have a qualifying process. So they kind of asked people, and I said, yeah, that sounds like an interesting challenge, and I'd like to do that. And I get to be on the national team. So I've been working with another company called FIREARMS, which they're familiar with, and you talked to Zach and Kyle about. They don't need me to talk about their competitive shooting stuff so much because they already have some awesome and fantastic team shooters. I talk to them more on the military and law enforcement side because that's our job, like our day job. And we identified their idea for a 9mm upper receiver, which is what this is, that goes onto a duty gun lower, like your standard military law enforcement issued AR-15. They have frangible ammunition that you can use, but it has significant downsides. It's more expensive, and it's still not safe to shoot at steel at very close distances. It's just safer. And still like 15 to 20 meters is your minimum safe distance for a frangible with 223. So being able to put a 9mm upper receiver on a 223 lower is fantastic because I get to use the same trigger stock and everything and train with the gun, but I get to use 9mm. It's cheaper. It's much cheaper than frangible if you already have 9mm ball you're not using. And you can shoot metal targets. You can shoot into ranges. It's quieter.
No insert needed for the magazine well.
Yeah, exactly. And so they have a product called the Endomag and the Exomag, which fits in a 223 lower. The Endomag specifically fits into a 223 PMag. So this was their idea for to me it's a capabilities demonstration that hey, for training, like this is a clone rifle and it's kind of neat. I'm shooting the iron sight team. It started as like I have this idea. I need to have a front sight on the barrel. So for shooting iron sights in competition, you need to have the front sight mounted to the barrel itself because you're going to end up putting the handguard on something. And rail flex is a problem. Those who shoot a lot with night vision know if I put a laser on the handguard of most conventional free-floated handguards, when I put the handguard on a prop or even if I grip it excessively, depending on the design, it will move the laser and the barrel is going to stay in place. Kind of like the opposite of a free-floated barrel problem. It induces rail flex. Same thing if I mount the front sight to the handguard. So I needed a front sight mounted to the barrel. And so I talked about that and I said, hey, I need a PCC with the front sight mounted to the barrel. And I think this is a really cool idea. Like, hear me out. Let's just make a clone gun. Like, let's make a Colt 605 or what's known as a dissipator. So early M16 days, the first like short M16s, literally take an M16, not even an A1, like slick side, no fence on the lower, which is what this is sort of a clone of, and chop the barrel off in front of the front sight. How long does that end up being? Ends up being about 15 inches or however many millimeters that is in godforsaken weird metric units. It ends up being close enough to be to where a 14.5-inch barrel is pretty much about right. Brownell's made some clones of the 605 as well. And you'll see those used in Vietnam. You'll see those in Vietnam War photos sometimes, and oftentimes you'll see them used with suppressors because they found out the dwell time for a 223 with 14.5 and the rifle gas system wasn't enough. But you put a suppressor on there, it works fine. If you're using hot enough ammo, it also works fine. So I said, hey, like once you get that handguard, like or the front sight mounted to the barrel, you know, what if you put the same system that's in your regular upper receiver? Could you put it into it's a Brownell, I believe it's a Brownell's reproduction retro M16 upper. And then, you know, hell, why not put triangle handguards on it? And I'll put it on the M16 E1 lower and make kind of a, you know, it's obviously not clone correct because such a thing never existed. In 9mm, the bearing delayed 9mm didn't exist in 1964 or whenever they would have done the 605 guns. But it's kind of a cool homage, and it's still competitive. Like it's still got an unrivaled muzzle brake on it, which is fantastic. In this case, it does have their low mass bolt carrier group for competitive shooting. That's good, and it's got an unrivaled buffer in it. So there's nothing wrong with it, and I was able to win the Irons division at the Janjiska Challenge with it. One other piece to it that's particularly trick is it's kind of a heavy gun. It's about 8 pounds, which is some amount of kilograms or something.
4 kilos.
Sure.
That's too much.
It's about as much as 10 boxes you might be carrying. That's a obscure gun joke, but a gun control joke from an American politician. But for those who aren't watching, I pull the left side of the triangle handguard off, and underneath of here is actually a float tube. So practical shooters probably have never seen anything like that, but this comes from our service rifle bullseye shooting community.
Okay.
And for a long time, service rifle competition was shooting AR-15s from 200 to 600 yards, and you'd use sling tension as part of the shooting position. And so you needed to free float the handguard to stop the barrel from moving when you put sling tension on. So this is basically a steel tube attached from the barrel nut with the handguard cap welded on. So your two-piece handguards are floated and off of the barrel. So when you put the handguard on stuff, it doesn't move the barrel. Because barrel flex is a real problem with non-free floated M16s, M4s. Like if the handguard's connected to the front sight and the handguard cap, when you push on the bottom of this, the whole barrel moves up. So in this case, it is free floated, which is a big requirement. Because it looks like at the World Shoot, we're going to have some long shots and some barricades we're going to have to use.
Yeah, that's about right.
So, and then it's just a clamp-on JP front sight. It's actually an adjustable gas block in front sight. I have the same thing on my mini rifle, just a 22 upper receiver. It's the easiest way to mount a front sight to the barrel. It's kind of expensive, but it beats having to drill taper pins and all that nonsense, and it's more secure than like people replace the taper pins with set screws, and that isn't real for bashing the gun around. I say simple. Their barrels also aren't contoured for a gas block at all because there's no need for it. You see there's a gas tube on there. That's for show. It doesn't do anything. It's just because it came with a gas tube.
I was about to ask for that.
Thought it'd be funny. But they did have to EDM shims so they could clamp the front sight gas block thing here to the barrel. And then it's the standard M16 rear sight. So there's a short and a long aperture. The short aperture I can zero at 50 meters and I can flip it, and it's like 75-ish. Functionally, I just leave it with a 50 meter zero and hold. And then I did change out the front sight for a national match front sight, so it's much, much thinner. So it's better for shooting small targets, farther targets, and you see more light through the rear sight aperture, so it's actually also a little bit faster. So it's a vibe, but also crappy guns aren't a vibe, in my opinion. So
looks like a freaking hot rod to me.
Kinda, yeah. So like, yeah, it's got a big brake on it. Like that kind of kills the mood.
You can recruit us from the brake and from the trigger.
Yeah.
Is that a sleeper?
Yeah. But yeah, big brake, and then you can see the trigger is a Geisley super dynamic 3-gun, and then the charging handle is big. So everything that matters, like it's a performance part, so it's not like truly a clone. But I also am trying to win with this thing, even to the point where like I was kind of trying to keep the vibe. So I left the original M16 grip.
But
I could swap that out. Like I love the Magpul K2 grip. The angle and shape is about right. So I was on the fence about like maybe I'll replace that. And I'm like, I wonder if I could just take the original grip and build it up. And this is just epoxy putty that I stuck on there just to get me the right distance to the trigger, and so that it's much easier to move the gun around with one hand. Because the A1 or the M16 grip is designed for kind of prone shooting and different shooting style that isn't really great. And then HRF Concepts, just a little bit bigger mag well for option 3, and because we have to reload sometimes in IPSC PCC because there's a magazine limit of 32 rounds.
Yeah,
the stages will be 40 rounds.
That's right.
So basically, what that is, it's a really neat, on the mean arms side, it's a really neat demonstration of the capability that they have to reproduce something that you need, right? So in this case, yeah, it's an old clone dissipator gun from like Vietnam. But hey, like we want to do high definition, high speed training at close distances with 9mm. Like, hey, by the way, like, yeah, we use an 11.5 URGI to do that. Okay, well, hey, here's an analog to that literally, if you really wanted it to, they could probably build something that is exactly that. Now, that's not necessarily the products they offer, but it kind of demonstrates this is a real-world training solution for people who are interested in taking to the next level. Specifically, like, shooting competition is incredibly valuable. It's speed, it's accuracy with rifles at close range, and everywhere in the U.S., somewhere within an hour from your wherever you are, there is a USPSA pistol match or an IDPA match going on where you can shoot a pistol caliber carbine. So if you're an infantryman or special operations, or if you're whatever, or a SWAT team, or just a patrol officer, throw a 9mm upper receiver on your duty gun. You're shooting your duty gun at targets from, 5 to 30 meters, really fast and accurate. The training value of that is, I don't know if it can be overstated.
Nice. Yeah. I'm sold. I mean. All right.
You're the PCC dude. Come on, you've been sold before already.
Yeah, but it's very obvious that you give your guns a spirit. Yeah. So on the one side we have like a super modern shotgun, like the latest and the best out there.
Yep.
But on the other hand, you can give a spirit to the gun, which would look completely different being done by someone else. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys prefer like a classic military style? So
Yes.
We had a dinner a few moments before, and you mentioned that you are into some kind of fetish, I would say.
We'll go that far.
That was the other conversation.
Oh, of course. We had a couple of beers. The kind of like what he was talking about going back is that like I started off with using, high-speed stuff, right? The competition stuff, right? So, a LaRue rifle with Leopolds and having all these modifications and such and such, right? So it evolved into me wanting to use things that I was using close to, the military, right? So the Marine Corps doesn't really matter. So I used a Mark 18 for a long time. So I practiced with that the majority of the time when I was starting to shoot rifle just for the fun of it. And then eventually I went to a Block 2, so it was the same rifle, just a little longer at 14.5. And so I just kind of evolved into changing the gaming side to more of like what we call cage gun side, or like things we would use in service or closer to it. So the practical side. And eventually I landed on loving. So I'm a big fan of like the Black Hawk Down movie.
Oh, okay.
Of course.
And that story, right? So the actual operations, the real story behind it, and the Delta teams at the time, and as well as the Rangers at the time, were using 723, 727 variations of that with so the carry handle very similar to this one, which was a C7 upper with optics on top. Typically, they were aim points 2, 3, or 5,000s. And so I loved that look. I watched that movie when I was a kid, and I saw that rifle, and I was like, I love that. And I didn't really understand why. I didn't I didn't take in the fact that, like, the height of a bore is like basically a skyscraper, and I just saw it and I was like, I like that rifle.
Which is actually very popular by the recently.
Exactly. Like, I want to be able to hold my rifle down here and still look through my optic.
I saw someone made a video like that.
Oh, we know the
Yeah, that's Dan.
Stanislavic, right?
Yeah.
Dan did that with I saw he made that little mouth and he's just like, that worked, donk. Like, that was really funny, but we're talking about a different group.
Yeah, we are giving him like a shout out for like a third time already.
Hi, Danny.
It was mentioned so many times, but you have actually funny stories with Danny,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, so 2 years ago, we went to Puerto Rico for the Caribbean Open. I had no idea who this guy was. I just David Padovan had invited me to go to this match, and he was saying some guy from this certain area named Daniel was coming
from Europe.
From Europe, and I was like, okay, cool, yeah. And I get to the Airbnb that we're at, and he's just sitting there, quiet, doesn't say a word. He's just sitting there. And I'm like, hey, what's up, man? What's your name, Daniel? He's like, and he didn't speak English, so like. The entire trip, we probably spoke like 6 words to each other, and most of it was just kind of pointing and explaining things. So we got to know each other in a way. Yeah. He showed me the videos of him doing like the outdoor stuff on YouTube. I was dying, cracking. He's a very, very humble guy. Very
he's
really
a
nice
guy.
dude. Very talented. Like he's a very, very good shooter, and he's a national champion here. Is that correct? Okay. Yeah. So he's never been to a Costco. I don't know if any of your viewers know what a Costco is, but. Costco is basically like a wholesale place where you can buy a lot of product, and they have a food court there that's very popular. And he's never heard of that, so I was like, you need to have a chicken bake, you need to have this, and I have a picture of him like holding a chicken bake and like in one of the Sundays, like it just cracks me up. Just like we're just kind of going through this whole experience, and the last time I saw him was actually. That trip, and then it was when we went to a burger place called El Hamburger, which is apparently a very popular, famous place in Puerto Rico.
I believe that's Spanish for the hamburger.
The hamburger, right? I was told like you got to go to this place called El Hamburger. I'm like, Okay, so we went to find it, and there's a funny story to that too. But yeah, and then after that, technically the last time I saw him was at this match. So it's been a long time since I've seen him, so that was cool.
It was fun reunion it.
But anyway, going back, so I like the nostalgia of the '90s. I love the style. I love the firearms used at the time, military or what just the vibe.
Yep.
And so I typically have like a little outfit that I wear for like the '90s style, including the fanny pack, the whitewater socks. I have the trucker hat, the like real razor blade sunglasses from Oakley, like the whole works, right? And my main rifle now is a Car 15. Like I run an 8.9000 SC on top. So it's basically the body of a 723, 727, still a C7 upper. There's variants of that. Government profile barrel. I have the Allen Engineering collar to put the M4 suppressor. I just don't have the suppressor just yet.
Okay.
But the body of it is, the nostalgia. But the inside, I have Geisley. I have an A5 Voltor buffer system in it. The carrier is a KAK bolt carrier group. So it's really great. And the 9000 SC is basically an Aimpoint Pro, but just in a longer body. So it's trying to mimic the like the 2, 3, and 5000s series of optics from Aimpoint. Going back to Aimpoint, like I've just used Aimpoint, not necessarily just because like I was told to. I just kind of like fell onto them because they're a consistently reliable optic and it provides everything that I wanted. So, and again, a lot of guys in those units used Aimpoint at the time, so it was just something I fell onto.
Yeah. There's one Aimpoint sitting on a table, but there's more than that in this room.
But yeah, the vibes is a big factor in what we go for. So that's just how I love it. So
yeah, absolutely. My following question is that when exactly did you guys feel that you are transforming from the competition shooters into instructors?
I definitely have a different story, but
yeah. Well, I mean, it's. I started instructing as a volunteer thing for our club in Utah when I helped with. We started a new competitors clinic.
Okay.
So I was
clinic. It was called clinic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and what it was my dad and I and some others in the club that were experienced shooters, and I think at that time I would have been an A class or maybe master USPSA shooter, and I was homeschooled by that time from basically 7th grade onward.
Okay.
So it was a way for me to get experience doing life stuff, and my parents always had me just do stuff from an early age. They didn't view childhood as like just a time to be a kid and have fun and whatever. It was like you're training to be a functional adult. So as soon as they thought that it was maybe reasonable that I could do something, I was being like, hey, try and do this.
Nice.
Right. So when I was 14 or 15, we started this new competitors clinic at our club, and basically the idea was, hey, if you come out on Friday before a match at like 4:30 p.m., we'll show you the basics of how to shoot USPSA. And it's not really how to shoot better. We're not going to work on foundational, like how to grip the gun and, any of that. It is, here's the etiquette of a match. Here's how to make sure you don't get DQ'd in your first match.
Okay.
And we kind of said, like, hey, if you come out on Friday for this new competitors clinic, it's free. Just bring your equipment. We'll guarantee that if you come out to the clinic and you do what we're asking, you both will not DQ and you will not place last at your first match.
Okay.
And by and large, that was true. I don't think we had anyone DQ that went through that or was disqualified. And I don't know if anyone ever took last unless they had to leave early for whatever, like, commitments.
Okay.
So that was where I got my start there, and that just kind of led into, I had some other paths in life I was trying to take as an early, teenager or young adult, like when I was 17, 18, that didn't quite work. Found myself in university, and then somewhere in that time frame, we started a firearms training company, TPC.
Okay.
It was my father and another guy named Ron Avery, who was really influential in how I view shooting now. One of the biggest mentors I ever had about it.
These guys are legends.
Yeah. And so I was helping with that. And then I went to college, and kind of that wasn't for me. Came back and took over as one of the lead instructors there, and then eventually, unfortunately, Ron ended up he had cancer.
Yeah.
And then I took the role of developing our doctrine for long gun shooting because that was something that was very interesting to me.
Okay.
For shooting rifles and shotguns. And then eventually, when Ron had to take his convalescent leave and eventually ended up, passing away, I did take over as the director of training for TPC. And I did that until basically this venture with Scoring Tech started, and we sold TPC to Rawson in 2019.
Okay.
So that's how the transition to instructor happened for me. It was kind of very natural.
Okay, so by the time we met each other, you've been there, but you've been passing your experience on Rawson, right?
Well, and Rawson's also was a lead instructor for TPC and is a fantastic. Like it's like I didn't pass any experience on to him or really teach him how to be an instructor. He already was, and it was already a fantastic one at that point.
Yeah, I can tell. But I was just curious because you mentioned that 2019 was the actual break point when we actually sold the company, and then I met you 2020.
Yep.
And I met you all guys. And it was a brilliant experience.
Yeah, that was a fun class.
Yeah,
I really look back on that class in Pyru very, very fondly.
Yeah. I wouldn't tell that my very first overseas course experience would be in California.
Yeah.
But it was excellent.
It's a great place for shooting, man. It's just, there's so many people, and it's actually the most active region, I think, for USPSA competition is California.
It's weird, right?
It's weird.
It would seem it would be the complete opposite, but
yeah.
It's only weird if you haven't really spent time in California.
that's also true.
Because California is, this is a Joe Rogan quote, California is Los Angeles, like San Diego, Los Angeles, the Bay Area, and everywhere in between is like Kentucky. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of there's a lot of area. There's a lot of people in those urban centers, but outside of there, you go to the Central Valley and Bakersfield. It's not quite Idaho, but kind of more like Idaho than Los Angeles.
Okay. Alrighty, so you hit it.
What?
So I felt like you have a question.
No. My question would be the desert island.
Come on, it's not
It's not time yet.
It's not the time.
It's not
yet.
the right time.
But speaking about the training and actual transition from the actual shooter and into an instructor, how do you feel about it nowadays? Did you see any transitioning or getting new experience and possibly passing different skills that you tried to pass on the very beginning?
Basically seeing what's really changed my perspective is being informed on the data side, seeing where most of our, I guess we'll say customers, the people that we support, seeing where they're at and what they need is kind of unique, and looking at it from a data-driven perspective. Like it's something that like I have to remind myself is completely new. Like we never really had access. We could always suppose or guess that we needed to work on X, Y, and Z, but as it turns out, like without getting too much into details, because it's probably not really that sensitive. But professionally, I don't want to just talk about that. Like, it turns out the solution is I would have thought that probably more of this is what everybody needs to be better at for this. But in reality, when we take an audit of a whole lot of people, we need to address this and this before we can get to that.
All right. Right.
So, I don't know. Josh, you probably got more insight on that than I would.
I mean, without getting it, we're being vague, right? Obviously, but we can just start with the foundation. Right, so that's where we're going to just talk about is the most important part to start with, and then again, a lot of people want to skip that and go into the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Right, and you forget how much of the foundation applies to all the fun stuff if you want to do the fun stuff well. So we can leave it at that. I mean, it's just that you have to start from the beginning, and do all the beginning stuff really, really well.
So, what do you think is the most important technical skill, which is often underrated in the community?
Like the foundation skill?
Yeah.
Fundamentals.
Just so can you be more specific? What do you think is the...
Well, I guess the fundamentals,
key.
it's a layered thing, right? So you can't just say fundamentals and it applies to one thing. It's a layered palette of skills, right, that lead into the fundamentals. So I can't name just one particular thing. It is multiple things added together that creates this one particular, aspect of skill. So in this case, fundamentals, right? Which then get applied to other things, right? So if you want to shoot really fast and accurate, well, you're applying all of the, like I said, stacked skills of fundamentals. You're just doing it faster, right?
Yeah.
So you work on those things, that foundational stuff first, right? You do that very consistently, very well, and you do it on demand without having to think about it, right? All the fast stuff come naturally and a lot easier. So you'll be able to do it more consistently, depending on how you process information, of course, because everyone processes information differently. So it's hard to kind of really state which one, because it is a combination of multiple things that go into this one particular palette. You definitely can talk a lot really deep into that.
I actually like to think of it as, there's different ways that people learn, but fundamentally we need to get to the same place. We all have the same desired outcome. There's different ways that we can get there. Humans do generally follow trends where we can say, if we do this, then this, then this, then this, then this, we get to a good result. And there's like outliers where that doesn't work. We have to apply some different technique. But said simply, I talk about how do you succeed in practical shooting. And when I say practical shooting, I don't just mean like IPSC. I mean practically applying guns to solve problems rapidly, right? Yeah. I define practical shooting as time is involved, and instead of shooting like just the tightest group, we have to put a bullet within an area. Yeah. So the A zone on an IPSC target is an area, and it's 6 by 11 inches on a USPSA target. That's like, what's that? 2 turkey legs and Budweiser bottle or something like that. Anything with the metric system. Or if we're shooting an animal, for example, right? If we're hunting, look, I want to be able to put it behind the shoulder of a deer through the heart and lung, and that's a zone. But it's not about putting multiple bullets into the tightest possible group, like bench press shooting would be, for example. So practical shooting to succeed. First. And I'll curse a little bit. I know that's probably not a problem, but first, your shit has to work, right? You're not getting anywhere if your shit just doesn't work. If your gun's jamming all the time, it won't hold a zero. It doesn't hold a small enough group to hit what you're aiming at, right? So, for example, there's a certain limitation of if I cannot hit an A zone at 50 meters with my PCC, this is a problem that we need to address if it mechanically cannot do that, right? Shit's got to work. Second is you need to be able to hit everything, right? You got to start from that. Just be able to hit everything, because, speed and accuracy are both like equally valuable. But if I'm fast and not accurate, I accomplish absolutely nothing. If I'm accurate, okay, well, maybe even slowly is fast enough, right? Bullets work by hitting things. So first, your shit's got to work. Second, you have to be able to hit every single target. Third, you have to be able to do that as much as you like, with as much certainty as possible, right? Repeatedly be able to hit every target. And then you have to do the shooting part fast. And once we're at that fourth part, we're really getting somewhere. And then once we're past that, then you need to be able to move to different places to do that all over again. Those are like the 5 things that have got to happen.
There are things that people forget to do. They want to go straight to the last thing, right? We can make an example. If you buy a rifle, right? Let's just say you buy a rifle and you just buy an optic, right? It can be an LPVO with some rings. It can be an EOTech. Doesn't really matter, right? They'll just grab the rifle, slap that optic on there, and start shooting, right? They didn't fit the gun to themselves, right? They didn't set their length of pull. If they're running an LPVO, they didn't fit the optic in an optimal position. So whatever length of pull they have set, every presentation in the low at maximum power and in the prone position, they're not having scope shadow, or it's actually you're trying to make sure that your equipment, and this is kind of again a add-on to making sure your shit works. It's not just to make sure it's operably, it's going to be operable, but the fact that it's going to fit for you, right? And people just run the system as is without actually fitting that piece of equipment to themselves to optimize that piece of equipment. Right.
Case in point, even on my shotgun, right? You can see where it's even less important necessarily than shooting a rifle with magnification. I still have a stock that fits exactly the way that I want it to put this optic where I want it.
Yeah. But those arrangements you need to do are not major, right? So it's not necessarily connected with investing into something. So there might be just small adjustments doable with just basic toolkits.
Take the same stuff you have and just put it where it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
Nicely said.
Yeah. So one of the biggest parts I've taken from the course I experienced in 2020 was the mental game management. And it was my very first time experiencing the help in these kind of areas, because no one really covered it in the shooting region I come from, and it was like a big question mark for me. So I found a lot of answers in this, and I highly appreciate it because I live off that. My question is, if you see and if you are applying things into your current work, and if the actual customer of yours, or you call them customers or clients, are also working with that too, because there is that technical side and then the skill side. But once you reach a certain point, when you are kind of skilled enough to cover them both, there goes a mental game, right? So it's kind of tricky because you can feel confident in the first two mentioned, but if you fall short on the mindset and the actual motivation, etc., and accomplishing or going through the hard situation and solving the hard situations, you suck on the end of the day. So what's your approach on that?
Yeah. So a lot of what we do is literally just foundational without getting into any of that. Just because that's the most needed thing, where we can make the most difference. It's in just the hard skills, basically.
Yep.
However, the methodology for imparting those hard skills, and it's actually something that came from, it's something that I think that we did in your course that that also existed in another program that I kind of walked in on. I don't want to talk too much about how all that went because, but basically the same method of practice, right? So we talk about speeds of learning, right? So our speeds and levels of effort for performance. It's actually interesting because I haven't done much of this since we last worked together, since that
really?
class. Yeah, a lot more of this has just been so much hard skills emphasis that I've helped with a few competition courses, but it's not that much. I get rusty. I do a few competition shooting courses, and now a lot for military shooting teams, where I'm like, oh crap, I gotta dust off how did I do that? Oh yeah, that's how I do that.
Oh, I see.
But so hey, this we're gonna go slow enough that we can actually consciously think about everything we're doing it because it's new. And we do talk about practice and training. So training is we're doing something new, and then we're going to do it a lot, and now we're going to do it until it fails, and we're going to back it off there, and we're going to find our happy home of that 95 to 98% level of effort where we can do it to a high level of proficiency, or we can do something. And in our game, that means fast. So I can do it reasonably fast.
Yep.
And I can execute it all the time. And that's that 95, 98% level of effort.
Yep.
We do talk about that in a big way, as well as we operate in that where we can actually enforce hey, we're going to do 10 repetitions of this thing at this time. And then it's going to go down and down and down, and you've got to be able to do 10 repetitions in a row or you start over. And we do talk about visualization as a skill, hey, I want you to see yourself doing this repetition correctly, or some very simple drills that we do are parts of the marksmanship assessments.
Yeah, it tricks on your mind.
Yeah, I want you to visualize how that's going to go, how you want to see both, not just what you need to do, what's the procedure, but how are you going to do it? What's it going to be like when you take this position, when you fire this first shot? What's the sight picture look like for the second shot? What is the target transition like? So all those skills are certainly things that we do cover and try to impart, as well as a general positive mindset, not just because it's a happy-feely, namaste kind of thing, because it's the simplest, shortest way to get to what you want is just only think about what you want.
What's maybe your approach to that? So you mentioned that you shoot forever, basically. What was that, 17 years? You probably, I'm guessing, but I'm sure I'm pretty right that you probably experienced ups and downs on your path, right?
Yeah.
So both, I believe, both in the motivation or maybe in the competition world. So you also experience different kind of competitions. How do you fight that, or how did you fight that? If you experienced some anxiety, for instance. Or did you ever really?
I did, yeah. It's not something I've really ever talked about. But yeah, I mean, that's something every human has.
Yeah.
I would assume at least. Well, sociopaths maybe not. I don't know.
You are not one, obviously.
Definitely not. I'm definitely not a sociopath. Yeah, totally normal. Yeah, the biggest thing I had to do at one point, and maybe more than one, is remind myself that all of this is just, it's fun. Like, yeah, I care how well I do. It bothers me when I shoot poorly. It bothers me when it's a string of this and this and this. And like, yeah, I shot 4 matches and like I didn't do what I wanted there and this. Like, you know, and I'm taking steps to correct it. And man, I just don't want to go out and practice and do this thing, you know, because if you're doing it right, sometimes practice sucks. Like, it's not just, it's cool going out and shooting guns. So like, yeah, I'm really tired of doing this thing and blah, 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 you know. Right? Like, at a certain point, it becomes that, like a grind. Remind myself this is fun, as well as this is an entirely optional activity for like 90% of the people who do it. So that, like, yeah, you know what, like, you know, sometimes I'll do something like, you know, making it fun, making it kind of a game. Like, there's nothing not for example, shooting a world shoot with a M16A1.
Yeah.
Right,
that's your punk rock move, right?
It makes it one of those like, oh yeah, and this is just kind of it's fun. And there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not compromising anything. It's just a little way to make it interesting. That's kind of helped me, is remembering that this is a fun activity. I care very much about how well I do it, because it is a central part of my life. I don't have a whole lot else going on for me. I don't do any other sport. My job's connected to it. So like, yeah, it's maybe more part of my like self-worth or identity than it should be. But you know, it's like
you are heavily invested,
and I believe we have developed the addiction to the dopamine coming from the match, or maybe addiction to the adrenaline. We actually discussed it with the Eric Rafael a few weeks ago. So he's also like a long time shooting dude.
Oh yeah,
and he's been through a lot. And it's not freaking easy. Even and if you take a look back, you have a look at the history. And he talked about it a lot. It's not that easy, like keeping the title. It's like, it's fun, like chasing the title and fighting the opponents. But being a king forever and keeping the throne, fuck, that's.
I gotta imagine. Yeah, I haven't won all that much. But that's
it's
gotta
like be. If you go deep into that, it's gotta.
Yeah, it's like he is, you know, because the minute someone beats you, all of a sudden it's like, oh well, you know.
Yeah, all for nothing, or How about you, Josh? Did you experience any kind of? It's kind of negative topic. I'm sorry for that, but
it's important.
It seems interesting to me.
It is important. So I have not been in the game very long. Brian has basically shot his entire life. I've only been shooting for probably a total of 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
And so at the beginning, I took it very, very serious. Very serious. Where I was no kidding, like maybe in a span of 6 to 9 months, somewhere in that period, I was dry firing like it was almost like 6 hours a day, because all I had was time. And so before I was at teams, or the Marine Corps shooting team, I was in an infantry battalion at the time, and I didn't have money, didn't have a lot of things. I couldn't buy ammo. I couldn't buy a lot of ammo, rather. So all I had was time. So I was able to borrow a rig from a really good friend of mine, and I just spent time drawing thousands and thousands of times, right, working through this particular thing I really want to be good at. So my first season, you know, with like the team, essentially, I was like the try hard. Like I was mapping everything. I was looking at all the stage briefs and all the books that I could read. Like I was trying too hard, and it almost came to a point where I wasn't enjoying it. I thought it almost became a job, even though I haven't shot very long. You know, my initial push to get really good benefited me, I guess, because all that foundational skill to do something very consistently, it's easy now because it's on demand, because I've done it so much. So that part helped a lot. But the mindset, I suffered for about 2 years of just like a very negative mindset, thinking I needed to win, or thinking I was needing to push too hard, training more than I should. And what I mean by that is like dry firing excessively, right? Because there is such thing as too much dry fire, right? You know, doing something for so long, and I lost the the interest in doing it at that point.
You had a passion for it.
Yeah,
right?
I had almost nothing. I just kind of thought it was just something I had to do, and I would go to a match, and I would not be happy. I wouldn't be enjoying it. And it was like the thing that, like when you don't have something as a kid, you end up like overindulging as an adult.
Oh, yeah.
This was it. This was it for me. Like guns, competing, like this was the outlet that I never had, and I had the opportunity, so I was like pushing. So I took like a break. I basically took a long break from just shooting matches, and I realized that same thing what Brian was saying. It really isn't that. It's not that serious. It's a hobby. It's something we can do. It's something we can do to hang out with our friends, family. It's a fun sport. And so I ended up switching the factor, kind of going back to like me wanting to do like using weird stuff, right?
Yeah.
I would dress up in like weird costumes. I would use unconventional guns that were used that you wouldn't use at a competition, and I would use those types of platforms and just see what I can do with them. And I was so happy. I was genuinely like going to a match and looking like a FUD, or going to a match and looking like Todd Jarrett did in 1990s, USPSA National, like that, like just being able to like dress up and do something dumb and fun, that made me happy. And actually, my performance actually increased from that.
Yeah.
I took a long break from shooting really like consistently, and I was still winning matches. Right? Didn't show at this last weekend, absolutely not. But but again, my performance increased because I didn't feel pressure. I didn't feel like I had an obligation. I was just enjoying. I just shut up and shoot, had a good time, and I ended up shooting better than I ever did, right? So, yeah, I think the mindset's a really important thing.
Yeah.
You have to just remember, it's just a game.
Yeah.
It's a fun sport.
And if I were to boil it down, because we have like specific examples of how our we're both on the same, like, roughly, close together on the autism spectrum, kind of. Like, this is we make it fun. We shoot stupid guns. It's like, it's not about that, right? It's just remember that this is fun.
It's fun.
Like, take a step back and realize that it doesn't help to stress over the outcome.
Yeah.
Right? It's actually something I wish I was wearing the shirt. We have shirts made for the company. It literally says process is greater than outcome, right? So you fall in love with the process. It's like, okay, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to go out and I'll pick this little thing to get better at. I'm going to spend a range session doing that. I remember the whole thing is fun. I can't stress too much over the outcome. I just focus on, I did everything that was in my power to accomplish these goals. I set little sub goals that lead to an outcome. And, if that's not good enough to beat someone else, okay, they shot better, right? Did I do everything that I could? Yes. Did I fail or fall short somewhere? Okay, how can I do something positive to not do that again?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. It's difficult when people use this as like their identity, so it's like,
I'm sitting right here.
Oh, sorry. No, but it's like, I'm not a perfect person, right? So I'm going to make mistakes. This weekend was a perfect example. I made huge mistakes that I've never done before, but it was something that I was going into new. So it was like, it was just a learning experience for me. So, but I use those failures as lessons. I take them. I actually like failing because I know it tells me I was embarrassed. It was a very like stressful part of that
Sounds
day.
like a Juggle podcast to me.
But it really does like highlight the thing that you didn't do well. So like you should obviously focus on the thing that you didn't do well. Now I can go back and remember that moment and try not to do it again.
Absolutely. So Juggle podcast has a big aspect of it. So every time I feel down, I just play one of the episodes with him, and it can be just random episode. He just hit the podcast and it starts in the very beginning with the deep voice, like there's that. I was like,
that was a perfect impression.
Yeah, hell yeah, let's do this. And that's all what's needed.
Yeah.
So being a part of the community, how do you think the shooting scene or the competition scene have evolved during the time?
That's a good question. It does feel like, and it's because I've always been the youngest person, and now I'm not anymore. Still on the younger side, but
people don't think so for some reason.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's because I have the temperament of a 45-year-old. I don't know. It does seem like there's more of a because my first match was in 2007. I started taking it seriously like 2009-ish. It wasn't just like every other month with my dad, and like seriously in 2009-ish. It does seem like there's a younger group now that's kind of the gun culture 2.0 and blending more of them. Like it's kind of like the Reese's Cup where like you got some peanut butter in my chocolate. No, you got some chocolate in my peanut butter. Seeing more of the martially and tactically minded. It's a bad way to describe that.
I call them the multicam FUDs.
Multicam thoughts. That's good.
Well, no, there's more like I see more people viewing it as like, oh yeah, these are hard skills for combative shooting. I see more of that in the competitive shooting community now than I did. Partly that's, well, no, I mean that was the same at my old club when I lived in Utah, and now Northern Virginia. There's a lot of military law enforcement types that live there for work, and that's the reason we both live there too. You'll see a lot more of those types of people.
You can say that you can thank the social media side of things, right? Like, so a lot of people in that world that are, influencers, they are starting to shoot competitions. It seems like a little bit more often than it used to be. Like when I started watching YouTube for like any type of gun content, it was like Nut and Fancy, Hickok 45. I think, yeah, exactly.
Ian McCollum, come on.
Yeah, he's a really nice man, by the way.
Yeah?
Oh yeah, I met her. This is a random story, but I went to this last SHOT Show, and I was staying in the hotel, and I just opened the elevator and just waiting for the elevator.
No way.
And it was him and his wife.
He's super tall, right?
And I went, holy smoke, dude, he's so tall.
Yeah.
He's really tall. And yeah, I didn't acknowledge like I knew it was YouTube or anything. It's just like, hey, how you doing? Good morning or good evening. And we were just talking about like, hey, just talking normally. But he was a very nice man. They were both very nice people. But anyway,
I was so disappointed that I didn't meet him at the SHOT Show. I saw a picture that he's somewhere there, but I didn't meet him.
I mean, you want to talk about like the biggest hands I've ever seen. That guy's double this. It's crazy.
Okay. Oh, wow.
It was crazy.
It's like the opposite of your typical like if you ever meet like Instructor Zero.
Yeah. It's a tiny guy.
It's like, oh, I didn't realize you're like 4 foot.
Yeah.
And that's not a dig on the guy. I talked to him like a couple times. He seemed nice.
Right.
It's just Italian, so who knows?
But but going back to what I was saying, like, so watching, the only thing I could do would watch YouTube for any type of content because I couldn't own any guns and stuff like that. But anyway, at the time, it was just mainly like particular types of things that you could buy, right? What's the optimal setup? Very similar to what I have nowadays, but now the content's shifted, it seems. Like you have people like Hunter Constantine, and you have people like the Polymer Tactical guys doing like the finished brutality stuff. So you're seeing like influencers like going and shooting matches now. Doesn't really matter what discipline, and people are starting to see that and how it kind of relates to their world as far as like they call them multicam FUDs, and how it can be a testament on testing their equipment.
It seems like that people just want to see more. Yeah. Right. Just seeing also their influences to evolve. Yeah. And move to different directions maybe. But and also that we've got a performance shooting influencers, the PewView guy. That's like crossing. So I would love to see him shoot a match.
Oh fuck yeah!
I agree.
Have you guys encountered him or?
Like I said, I'm not very involved necessarily in the industry at all. I'm very new to this. I don't meet a lot of people.
I met him on a SHOT Show.
Okay.
And I wanted to talk to him, but he was he was okay. He wasn't rude whatsoever, but he was just like a passive, I would say. He was like, no, he was doing his stuff, and but seeing him shoot, well, that's really something. And all the trick shots. I mean, even if I would like kind of respect that there might be multiple tries before the actual shot. It's not simple. We tried.
Well,
Carde tried too.
It's even if it's multiple times trying, he's usually like saying something before he takes the shot. So, he must be like saying it a million times.
Doing multiple tricks in the same kind of line. Right?
So but without the cut.
Yeah, without
one
the
take.
Cut.
This is my interpretation of this, and this is my opinion. But I think showmanship and match performance are different things, right? So you can be a flat range shooter and shoot 12 splits with a 2011 or a Glock and shoot things in the air. That's great. That's very hard and it's very impressive to do that. I don't see that as a way to translate into match performance, right? Whereas if we put that same guy in an IPSC match, PCC, it doesn't matter, IPSC pistol, like I don't think they would necessarily do well. Now I could be wrong, of course. Respectfully, but again, it's not the same thing, right? So consistency, being able to shoot on demand, One try to do this rather than being a
Right.
performer, right? A state,
yeah.
you know, it's like I said, that's my.
Can I be a cranky old
Go
man?
for it.
just before you said it,
Yeah.
I wanted to say that I was telling about PView to Eric Groffel, and I was like, oh, he's doing this like great stuff, you know, shooting I don't know, cans
Tricks, yeah.
and tricks, and then I showed it to Eric. He wasn't amused.
Back in my day, like he's just like the old man, right?
No.
Suck
He was looking at it and he was like counting out. Okay, here he missed. So he was looking at it like very, very focused, and he was actually like
Yeah, so I'm about to do
Yeah.
the same thing.
going through it.
No, so I found it like 1 year at SHOT Show, I went to the Gundy Awards.
Yep.
And because Terran and Genesis, they won a Gundy, which is great. But I just remember sitting there at an awards show, and I'm already like, again, this is me about to be a cranky old man. This is nothing against anyone personally, right? Do what you love, enjoy what you enjoy, have your thing. As long as it's over 18, congratulations, right? But like watching awards shows, I don't watch the Oscars, right? Just not my thing. Very much not. So like we have that for guns. Okay, and gun content. Cool. I just remember sitting in my seat and there's an award for the best shooter at the Gundies,
Okay.
which PewView ends up winning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's voted on. Also, in contention for best shooter is Hunter Constantine, who is a USPSA Grandmaster. Actually, not that year. Sorry, that's because he won this year, which is
It's a
great.
great shooter, though.
Is Christian Seiler, who, if I'm not mistaken, like won all of the nationals and like did he win World Shoot? I can't remember. He was like, you know.
He's won everything. I mean, he's
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like,
So we have this thing for the best shooter, and it's like this guy has won X amount, like all the practical shooting world championships, or not worlds, like all
his
the big,
division,
yeah.
all the big,
Yeah.
and like best shooter, and it's like, and it was voted on, and it's PewView, this guy who does trick shots on it, which are impressive and difficult, right?
Yeah.
It's just one of those. I'm like, but which one of those guys, like you just put them out there and say like, hey, shoot this is gonna, you know. Would we say is the best shooter?
But I think our perspective is, or where we're coming from is like we're thinking about, you know, performance in general. Like, can I do a thing on demand consistently all the time? Right?
Repeatedly.
Repeatedly,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's not fancy, right? I'm not going to shoot 12 splits, right? I might be shooting, you know, like 3 splits, right? But I can probably hit an A zone at 25 at that speed consistently, right? I'm not saying, I'm just using it as an example, but we're just talking, we have two different sides of our opinions.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
what I thought was, I'm sitting here, it's like, this is just interesting that's what like the social media community thinks is like great shooting versus what is objectively.
But
Yeah.
you made a perfect comparison with the Oscars.
Yeah.
It's also like it's being voted only by the performance on the screen.
Yeah.
It's not about like actually competing or actually winning anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's best shooter on the screen.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So that's what everyone thought was cool, and like, oh, okay, you know, it's one of those moments where I'm like, so my perception of what's cool is a little bit off.
It's just different, but yeah. I mean, he does do cool shots though.
That is.
yeah.
I mean, I hadn't really seen much of him. Like,
I can't do what he does.
Yeah.
Just simple as that.
No,
So-
and then I started watching, like, oh shit, like I don't care how many takes you do to get something like that.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Seriously, it's one of those
freaking
like
impressive.
you
Yeah,
did that once, dude. I don't care how many tries it took. You did
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Like,
He just takes a random gun and he just runs it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
even the hitting the clay, running on him,
oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
and then
That's hilarious.
making
That's pretty funny.
yeah.
We set up a stage. I would do that in 3-gun matches. So there was a stage at a match called Rock Hard. It was at the Rock Castle Shooting Center. The stage was called Dick Slap, which is always a good start. And it was literally 5 trap throwers that were configured, and they were throwing from pretty far, like 30, 40 meters away.
That reminds me of Cry Precision Party.
What's that?
That reminds me of Cry Precision Party.
I've never. I've been to like 2 SHOT Show parties, ever. But we set this 5 of these clay throwers up, and they were witnessed so that when the match director set them up, so that all 5 of them would converge at like crotch level.
Okay.
So if you didn't shoot them,
Oh shit.
they would hit you in the dick.
Oh.
So that's why you didn't have to stage dick slap. Now, in reality, they were going so slow by that point, and with all the wind, they wouldn't. It didn't really work that way, but it was it was something everyone.
But the risk
had to
was
deal
there,
with.
right?
Oh yeah, and it was
Something
not-
for brutality matches. Let's go for that.
yeah. Except Yardi would oh yes, and we found these steel clay pigeons. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But I saw the clay involved in one of the PCSL matches, I believe.
yeah, flying pistol clay.
Those
Yep.
jumping and you are supposed to hit them with the pistol. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's something that I've seen. I think the first time I saw that, it was actually the Army Marksmanship Unit put it in the Fort Benning 3-gun.
Okay.
It's kind of a thing. It's not super common now, and it's sort of going out of favor a little bit. But yeah, that's something I used to do. Used to see a lot in 3-gun matches, and we'd do that. We throw a clay, it stays inside the berm. You can shoot a flying clay with a pistol. It's coming pretty vertical usually. Sometimes they'll throw a legit.
Is it usually handled like extra points, or is
Usually it's a bonus. Although I ran a multi-gun match called Hard as Hell for a little while, and I view it as no, I put a target there. You're going to shoot at it until you hit it, or you're going to take a penalty. So we had flying clays, and if you missed it, it was a penalty. You better hit it then.
I see.
One year at the after SHOT Show match, we used to run in St. George. It was Max put it in. I can't remember if. Well, he used my thrower, so I guess I had something to do with it. It was in natural terrain, and we had plenty of space to shoot rifles. So we had a trap, like an actual electronic trap, that would throw a clay that you would shoot with rifle, going away from you at from 10 meters away, and it would keep going, and you'd try to break it with 223. And
Oh yeah.
I think it was
You
there were
need to
2 of
count
us
with
that broke it.
Yeah, you need to come with the offset.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tricky, but it's actually probably the most easiest way how to shoot a clay, like coming from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's better.
Yeah, we weren't going to throw a
Yeah,
hard,
yeah.
bright crosser or anything like that. That would be unchristian,
Yeah.
I mean, really, that would just be a contest of luck. Like, if few people could reproduce and consistently,
Sure.
oh, yeah, you give them 10 tries, they're going to break it 3 or 2 or something like that.
Yeah. Ultimate question: irons or optic?
I mean, optics are... So it depends, but basically optics are going to be better in just about every way.
Okay.
The only thing is there are certain limited circumstances where, we're just talking as a general mode for aiming guns, period, right? So yeah, if it's got to be small and accuracy is not that big of an important thing, accuracy at speed, like a small carry pistol that's like a backup gun, or my lazy day J-frame revolver, there's no point in putting an optic on it. I know what I can do with that gun, and it's kind of a last ditch, and it's a compromise that I'm making of comfort for the ability to protect myself or others. Mm-hmm. There are certain limited circumstances where optics are glass, right? And sometimes glass does glass things. So if I take the example of driving a car with a glass windshield, sometimes there are circumstances where you cannot see through that glass windshield. It fogs up, or it gets ice, or whatever, right? And so if I know consistently that I'm going to be in an environment where glass fogs, then maybe iron sights make more sense. Or if I know that I might encounter this situation where I might be in a very humid environment like a jungle or somewhere really cold where if I breathe on my optic, it's going to freeze and I'm going to have to break that all off. Maybe I want to have some other way to aim that gun that isn't dependent on glass that I can see through. So what we see in that case, for example, for rifle sights, it's kind of like, my window on my car is fogged or iced, but I really need to get to work because I'm late. What do? Well, if you don't scrape it, you roll the window down and stick your head out the window, and you're driving down the road with your head out the window. That is what offset iron sights are on a rifle.
Yeah.
I just basically turn the thing sideways, and there's no longer glass, and I have a new sighting plane, and I have another way to aim the gun.
Yeah.
Now every time I'm driving with my head out of the window, I'm gonna remember this.
Yeah.
I'm on the iron sights now.
Yeah, exactly, iron sights.
It's the same opinion, right? They are faster, right? They're going to be a lot easier to utilize. Pistol shooters, it tends to be harder to, if you're starting off on pistol, it tends to be a little harder to find a dot with a pistol if you're bringing someone that has never shot a pistol before. So irons are usually an easier tool to utilize as a person that's getting into, marksmanship. But it is faster, and again, if outside of the parameters of what he's talking about, right, it is a better option for shooting, right? I agree with everything he just said. I agree with. It's hard to match that.
All right. So
Boring.
He said it so eloquently, and I was like,
now
"What am I going to say?"
Maybe there's a more fun question, and it's actually more controversial because I think everyone's pretty much arrived at the point of look, man, optics are better. And it doesn't really matter if I can put an optic on it. I'm going to be able to aim it more quickly and precisely.
Mm-hmm.
But then we get into general purpose rifles, right? So this is an AR-15. Okay, so a red dot or a variable or an actual scope, right? Maybe that's more of an interesting question. Or a red dot and magnifier.
Let's hit it. Yeah.
Okay,
So-
well, let's use PCSL as a factor or as a comparative.
Well, let's just say general purpose carbine stuff, right? So what do you think you need to hit with with a 223 rifle?
Yeah. Okay. So let's just say under 300. Can you shoot something human-sized target at 300 meters? Can you do that with a red dot?
Sure.
Sure. Okay. If you know that you can do that, use a red dot, right? And then obviously you can work around different type of reticle styles, right? You can use measurements with those type of reticle styles.
Yeah. The problem comes if you need to recognize the target first.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And identify.
Exactly.
Right?
So how do you do that? Do you continue using the red dot and then now we can add magnifiers to something like that?
Or just shout at the guy.
Or shout the guy exactly. Just ask him hey, what's your name?
Ezekiel! Fuck you, Ezekiel!
So if you can't PID in a particular thing that you're trying to shoot at, now you use a piece of equipment that can do that, right? In this case, LPVOs, or slap a magnifier on there, right? And then the pros and cons for both of those optics, whatever might be. So, right, you can keep on going.
Yeah. So I think that a red dot without magnification. This is as someone, by the way, who's now shooting a lot more with iron sights than most people do. Right, iron sights on a rifle.
Yeah.
I have watched so many people get their ass kicked by a white target on a white sandy berm that, to me, this idea that we're going to go and do practical things either practical shooting competition in varied daylight conditions with targets that get shot up and turn gray. Most of our 3-gun matches or outlaw rifle matches, the steel isn't painted per shooter. I'm going to go out there with no magnification on the gun and expect to go do good work. I think that that's really banking on everything being close and easily identified. And sometimes God pisses in your Cheerios. And so some magnification is really kind of a must for that. To positively identify the target, is that something you need to shoot? Or even, look, I know I need to shoot it. Where is it?
Yeah.
Because I can't see it.
I know the direction and where is the freaking...
Yeah, because, I mean, I have fairly good eyesight, and we were shooting at the match over the weekend at the Janjiska Challenge. It's no farther than 100 meters, mostly inside of 50 meters, and I was still having trouble identifying with iron sights and bringing focus towards the front sight, which is something I still do with rifle iron sights, and that's another argument, versus target focus. But, that white target and that white berm kind of look the same, and it's there were a couple times where moving between targets, I'm oh, there it is, and that was fairly close. So if you're looking at it as I view magnification as a must, then a magnifier and a red dot, sure. But I think that the speed difference between a red dot and a 1-power, low-power variable optic is not really significant. And that's probably a controversial opinion, but this is just someone who does 0.6 first shots with a 1-to-8 scope at 1x, and target transitions very rapidly. It's something you have to train to get used to, kind of, but not really. I think that you have to look at performance versus perception. People think that it's weird and hard to shoot with a scope because it has eye relief and it like sort of cuts part of the world off. But if you simply look at a timer and do drills with the outcome of I want to just work on target transitions, you'll find the difference really is not that significant between a 1-power scope and a red dot at 1x at the bottom end. Probably freak people out. And there's certainly scopes, 1-power, well, 1 to 6, 1 to 8, 1 to 4, whatever, that are more forgiving with their eye box, that have a wider field of view, that transmit light better, that are better illuminated. But like most of what I shoot is a Night Force NX8, which is not known for being fast up close. And yet I win close range stages with it because I put aside the perception of difficulty and just focused on what I wanted. But also the same scope, I can roll half-second splits on, from prone on 600-meter targets that are kind of hard to see because they're gray and they're shot up. And that whole thing, that whole scope, is probably lighter and definitely takes up less space than, say, even an aim point with a magnifier, which is, it's a great red dot and it's a good way to add something behind that red dot, but it's still, I would say the red dot's a specialty tool. I shoot a red dot on a PCC because I know what I'm going to face with that. As a general purpose optic, and when I don't know what I'm going to do, I'd like the ability to add some magnification. I'd like the ability to hold more precisely for both elevation and for wind.
This episode is sponsored by... Oh, yeah.
Sorry, that was kind of a long answer, but it was
but
maybe more
it's a
interesting than just
comprehensive
optics.
answer.
But I'll use myself as an example. Again, not coming from a training, like I didn't know any better. I was just told, hey, use this thing, and you're going to do all these you're going to shoot targets at various distances, and you only have this one optic, right? So my first, outside of the military, which was, the ACOG, my first optic that I really used on a rifle was a Mark 6, Leupold Mark 6. And so I was like, oh, it's got 1 power and it's got 6 power. That's pretty cool. And so I learned on that platform how to shoot this like as consistent as I would with a red dot at close targets, and I shot it very fast, and pretty decent for a new shooter, so to speak. I didn't know any better. I just knew how I needed to apply it, right? And I didn't see a difference coming from a person that didn't know any better. I didn't really see a difference going from that to an EOTech or an aim point or anything like that. Once I got, this part, you have to train with it. You can't just assume you're just going to go behind and operate the same way. I trained with it. I knew where my face had to be and where my eyes had to, obviously not be. And that was it. And I ran the platform just as well as I would with a red dot.
All right. We'll cut it off at the point. Before we get back into the guns, I want to ask you, what do you think about the Czech Republic so far?
My first time. So you've been here how many times?
I think 4.
Okay, so this is my first time. So first time, it's been mainly just constant, like doing something, like work-wise. I mean, we spent a little time in Prague just walking around, but really it's just been like go to the range, hang out, work the match, hang at the house. It's not really, I didn't really go out and doing much. It was mainly just restaurant, house, match, that kind of stuff. But as far as like just the general vibe, I like it a lot. It's definitely intimidating being an American that has not been here before. So obviously the culture and language, there's a barrier there. But I really like it. I just spent today and yesterday in the countryside over. I'm sorry, what's the town?
Tishnov.
Tishnov. Is
Okay.
that where?
Yeah, that's north of the Brno.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I spent like my my afternoons the last couple of days up in the countryside up there, hanging out with some horses and just
nice
and beautiful. Oh my goodness, like peace and quiet, green everywhere. We were just walking the horses and stuff. Friends of ours, mutual friends of ours, and like that was incredible, right?
Was it with Paulo?
Yeah. Yeah. So him.
He said here.
Oh, he did. Okay.
A few weeks ago.
So they have. Gabby owns a horse and she is currently pregnant, so like she's a big old girl. But we went over there to go take care of them and see
the horse.
The horse. Sorry, sorry, guys. The horse is pregnant. The horse is pregnant.
Hi, Paulo. Hope you're doing good. Congratulations on the match, of course. On the match, all right?
Not on pregnancy, okay.
Yeah. But no. But
I mean, congratulations on the horse.
Yeah.
Come on.
But that's what I've seen. So it's mainly just like go shoot the match, hang out at the house, go to a restaurant, and then I went to the countryside and then hung out. I see. So it's been.
But is this also your first time in Europe, or
No, we were in. I went to Finland last
Finland,
year. Yeah,
okay.
so I went to Finland last year. That was awesome too. But that was my. No, that's not true. That's not my first time. But as far as Europe, that was my first Europe trip, and then here's my second. So.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Would you compare Czech Republic to a specific state in the U.S.?
It's like rolling hills.
New Jersey?
Yeah, definitely the deep cities of Chicago. Rolling Hills. It's a mix because the Rolling Hills aspect, it's got a lot of Virginia and West Virginia that I know of.
Yeah.
But the trees are a little bit different. The trees are very straight. That reminds me of places in California I've been. So it's kind of a mix, really.
Okay.
So there are familiarities, like a lot of vineyards out here I see. Or like there seems to be some vineyards, like at least in the countryside I've seen. I could be wrong, of course. I've just been in the area.
South
No,
Moravia.
we just want to, to address that somehow.
Yeah. So like
Yeah,
that's very much like Virginia, right? And then they don't have a lot of mountains here. It's mainly just like
No.
really, really big hills. But I like going up to the
I
countryside.
mean, even our mountains, something what we call mountains, is just hills.
They are just hills, really. Yeah. But the where I was, I could see just like miles and miles of rolling hills of like the clouds just kind of rolling through. I guess we were high enough to see that. It was awesome, right? So that reminds me of those areas, but nothing really specific. Yeah.
All right.
Kind of unique in its own way.
How about you? You can tell a little bit more.
Yeah, I admire our country's commitment to pork and beer.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh man, you guys have the best Pilsner. Like, and again,
It's the one.
it's the Pilsner.
Yeah.
True.
You guys should go to Pilsen. That reminds me how far it is from Tabor. It's not that bad.
Well,
actually.
in American standards, it's not far from
Nothing
it.
is
Yeah,
nothing
nothing in here.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. So you guys think that 100 years is a hell of a history, and we think and we think that the 100 kilometers is a hell of a
Is a
distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
a lot of our people that we like, some of the people we work with have a longer commute, like
Home, yeah, to work home.
than the trip from Prague to here. I mean, and that's like a daily.
Yeah.
They're kind of psychos, but
That is
That's-
pretty crazy.
That's crazy. For us, like we can cross countries.
yeah.
In
the
in a
distance.
couple hours.
Well,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
even
No
East
problem.
West Coast, because I grew up in Utah, and like, when I was in college, I would go, from Salt Lake to St. George. Is like a 5-hour drive most weekends, just to go home or do some work or
5-hour
something like
drive.
Yeah, we did it after SHOT Show.
And that's the same state. That's not even like you're not
Yeah,
leaving.
yeah,
Yeah,
We've been
that's
crossing the whole Utah,
Correct.
and we've been kind of like, hey, look, there's a car in front.
Yeah.
and nothing for another hour.
Yeah.
I was like, and it's kind of scary.
Oh,
So in here, you're like,
No, we were scared to stop because we've heard that there are a lot of Mormons there.
they're not scary people.
No, just like to make fun of it.
and the Area 66, right?
Yeah.
Or
No,
sorry,
51.
Area
51. Sorry,
51.
sorry, it's Road 66. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was so we stopped at the gas station, and we went in just to buy some water and some snacks probably, and so the guy, the cashier, he's like, so did you guys went to Area 51? And we're like, no, don't get too close, they will shoot you. and I'm like, should I go there or not, or what's the deal in here? And then we step outside, and there's a guy asking for a gas. Like a young guy, with his, what is that, Nissan or Toyota,
Yeah.
like a young guy, just, would you guys spare some dollars?
Yeah,
And
don't fall for that.
Yeah.
Don't fall for that.
yeah,
we
and
didn't.
so that add up to the wipe. So it felt strange. I wasn't scared, but I was like, okay.
You'll meet some weird folks in the desert at
Yeah.
gas
And
stations
then because
yeah.
the European cities are crowded, just
Yeah.
simply crowded. If you're on a highway in the middle of the night, there's plenty of cars around.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. And also the specialty of the Czech Republic, it's a small land, a lot of people.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the shooting ranges, it's usually very limited. And they're very kind of aware of the angles you are shooting, or you are kind of manipulating your guns in, because there's villages around. And very often we see like a weekend houses being built around shooting ranges, because that's usually cheap land, and they see like a chance to build something in there, and it was cheap, right? So we always think.
And then they complain.
Yeah, and then they complain about the noise. It's like, do you have to shoot on Saturday?
We have this. We actually kind of have the same. It depends on where you go in the U.S., but we have the same problem because, like even in the West, a lot of the land is hard to access, right? So there's a lot of nothingness, partly because that nothingness is preserved as federal land. So it's public land in some way, shape, or form, but you can't build anything on it, to include a shooting range. So like my old shooting range had a lot of problems with complaints from a neighborhood that, in fairness, it existed before the shooting range, but this was zoned specifically to be like, it can be a shooting range, and they would complain that, oh yeah, we found a bullet in the yard, and most of the time it was just nonsense because it was noticeable in terms of noise. It wasn't loud, but it was noticeable. You could hear staccato, like pow, pow, pow.
Something in the distance. Yeah.
And so that kind of does, like
a World War II wipe.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like when we have a national championship there, and we have like the function fire range or the warm up bays, like it's loud. I mean, that's like 50 people all doing draws and like splits and bill drills all at once, and you breaking steel targets. It's how much people were shooting there. I remember that. Like I can see why that would be a little bit irritating on your Saturday morning. Like I understand it.
Yeah.
What bothered me is that you would lie about a safety hazard in order to solve the problem.
It's very common.
Because we had that with like, I found a bullet in my yard, and it's like, that's a full cartridge, so someone must have thrown that very hard.
Yeah.
It's not that the risk was zero. Like I understand that. I understand why you'd be concerned about your safety for it. It's a little bit less I'm a little bit less sympathetic when you move into a shooting range that's already there, that's been there since 1930, like some places I've been.
Yeah.
But depending on where you go, you have the same problem. And then you go to like someplace built on public or state land in Wyoming, and there's nothing for 50 miles behind the range. Like you can shoot, or like you can shoot flying clays with a rifle. It doesn't matter. There's nothing to hit.
Yeah.
That
cannot happen anywhere in Czech.
Well, it can. It's just the consequences that follow.
No, it actually can happen because we still have the military areas, which are basically made for
but
this.
you cannot enter them really.
No.
Once you are not in the active reserves, at least.
No, only for mushroom picking.
or riding a dirt bike. What are you doing here? That's very common. We actually experienced shooting at the military zones and having like mushroom picking grandpas passing by.
Really?
Yeah, I experienced myself, like looking through the scope.
Yeah.
And then like it was that close that you see there's the disturbance. So you are shooting at like 700 or something, and then you see like this is what's wrong. So my head position is fine. So what is fuck? There is a lady, and she was like searching properly. She was like not here, maybe this spot. So I just found those shrooms in here the last time. What's wrong? This should be the spot, and this is my fucking it's the line.
Yeah.
So we've been just yelling at her. She's like, and she was almost offended. So it was like an area with the fence, all secured, and they obviously had the hole in the fence or something. And she was like, "Come on, guys, what's wrong with you? I just want to get some shrooms."
Yeah.
And
we used to have that on the old the subs range. You'll see that when we go to Berry Steel Open. But it was basically all the bays were oriented at this big like kind of cliff. I'm not really sure. It's late for me, so I don't remember the name of the geological formation. But basically, on the other side, there are houses and there's like a town, but you really can't get a bullet over that. Like there's no combination of over the berm that doesn't fall short or hit that cliff. But it got listed on like a climbing guide as a good rappel off of the other side, so people would climb it, and we'd be in the middle of a match, and then we'd be like, look up. It's like, oh, there's people climbing on. There's on top of the ridge, and now they've got a rope, and they're climbing down it into the impact area. So we have to stop it. We put up signs, and it's like we tried to contact the owner of that website, but periodically through a match, we've had the ultralight like paraglider things flying over the range too.
Yeah.
Because St. George, where I grew up, is like outside Zion National Park. It's a beautiful area to do all sorts of outdoor activities, and sometimes
Sure it is.
Yeah, and I don't know why in hell you would necessarily do it where it's like, yeah, it's cool, but there's so much cooler stuff. Like 20 minutes in any direction, like you're climbing over the other side of a little cliff in town. Like,
Maybe that's just a whole different experience, right? So
if
it's
you want to
just
do it with
not the
gunfire,
climbing anymore.
yeah.
It's like climbing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, speaking about possible injuries, do you have any stories like being injured by a ricochet or something like that?
I have a couple, but they're not like serious. Yeah. No, I mean, mine is just like it's not ricochet. It's either just like spalling or frag, whatever. I know you hate when I use wording that goes both ways like that. But nothing serious. Like most of it came from just the actual shooting itself. So like I would have like numbness in my hands and like carpal tunnel and stuff, just because I would dry fire like a madman, and then eventually
Too much dry fire.
It was just too much. Yeah. So.
Like, doctor, I have dry fire pinky.
Oh, like it's like take advantage.
Tennis elbow,
That's very common in Utah, right? Around St. George. Like,
Yeah.
we've got lots of dry fire pinkies again.
But no, I don't have any really.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I've caught some frag off a ricochet that was a little bit nasty, like under the skin, and had to pull it out, but not too bad. My dad, he's had a lot of concussions and brain like injuries, so it's easy for him to get concussed. And it was bad one year at a match, at an area match, so like a level 3 for us. He caught we're shooting limited division, our version of like standard. So he's shooting 40 and major power factor. I think it was a forward falling popper, and it was really a freak thing. Like there's nothing visibly wrong with the popper, but essentially he shot the popper, and like full diameter bullet kind of flattened, came around and whacked him in the forehead.
Whoa.
And would have been bad for pretty much anyone, but for him especially. I mean, it was he finished the stage, didn't have many hits after that, but he was kind of running on autopilot. Like, so the shooting skills it's actually kind of impressive that the shooting skills went as well as they did.
So the muscle memory was there.
Mostly hit stuff. Yeah, basically we'd call it like the hard skills were developed, or the unconscious skills were developed enough where he could even kind of be visually disconnected, because blurry, like, whacked in the head, you're concussed, right? So certainly concussed. Finished the stage and then couldn't quite unload the gun, but didn't do any safety issues. So like the RO had to like unload the gun for him and then take him to the hospital, and he was fine.
Wow.
But for a day that was kind of it was freaky to make sure he didn't break a chunk of his skull loose or something like that.
Yeah, sure.
So it's like it's one of those things where I take eye protection pretty seriously, because that
Sure.
I don't know if it would have helped if that had hit his glasses. Probably would have been bad if they weren't an actual safety, like shatterproof. That could have been pretty bad. And yeah, like fragments and shooting at guns are a tool that are dangerous, so you have to use dangerous items in a safe manner.
You could technically consider your hearing as an injury, but
Yeah, that is true.
You don't.
I do have pretty bad hearing from a lifetime of being around loud things, and everything I've enjoyed beyond guns, like music and every other like connected to it, like Ali has a hobby, like I work on stuff with metal.
Is this some kind of girlfriend experience?
Huh?
Is like a loud girlfriend, like.
Oh.
You're not listening to me.
I have a doctor's note that says I can't hear women's voices very well. So.
pretty impressive.
That's a good paper. When can I get one?
No, but that is something to take seriously, and I do wish that I don't know. I guess I wish I'd done things differently, although I can't quite look and put my finger on like where. I had a couple of specific like accidents or injuries that like I'm 27 years old and I have very loud, constant ringing in my ears.
Tinnitus.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm the opposite, right? Like I took careful steps to make sure I didn't leave the military with tinnitus, because that would have absolutely drove me nuts. So I made sure I did everything I could to avoid loud noises, and that's obviously putting ear protection double up whenever I can.
Yeah.
I mean, this is when things gone off, and I didn't have it.
Earplugs plus
Oh,
headphones.
Correct, but
Yeah.
I took care of myself in that manner because I knew it became my job, and hearing for me is important because I'm a musician, or I was a musician prior to the military. So like that hearing and being able to hear things is very important to me, and not having a disturbance in that manner is very important to me. So it was mainly my mother. My mother was like always telling me like, hey, make sure you wear, like, she was always very cautious for me and kept reminding me, right? And but at the end of the day, I'm glad I did, just because sure I could get a claim from like our Veterans Affairs stuff for the military, but like I'd rather be healthy than not.
Yeah, sure.
What I mean?
And what instrument do you play, by the way?
I was mainly a sax player, so saxophone. I was tenor and alto.
Okay.
Started off with piano. Did that for a long time. Typical Asian behavior. I'm Asian, by the way, if anyone needed that.
Okay.
But I finished off with sax. Did a little bit in community college, and then eventually, obviously moved to the military. So
Nice. All right.
Cool.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you cannot play something for us, but
unfortunate.
It's hard to get the sax
man.
in at this time, but yeah, we can. we could. I mean,
We can pause it and go for one.
bang! Here we go. What a miracle again!
Yes, the famous Czech.
We prayed for sax, and here we go.
the famous Czech midnight saxophone rental.
Yes.
Yeah. You should play some disco tones.
I know sexy sax, man. I can probably grab that real quick.
Yeah. So we are getting there, kind of.
Yeah, well, I have another question.
All right,
I have
hit
another
it,
question,
hit it.
but it should be said before or after Desert Island, I would say. But anyway, I was wondering if you have any like dream gun or dream gun setup, something you are craving and you don't have.
I believe that you guys are in the industry for long enough to be able to get things, right? And you are there also for long enough to
So is it on
find
a
a
table?
reason for purchase, right?
Yeah.
It's not like a side hobby or like something. It's like part of your lives, right? So
Anything that I could get, I did. I guess is my thing, because like I said, like I told you before, I like the retro stuff. So like the '90s, I like the '90s nostalgia. So my favorite platform to shoot is the Car 15. Genuinely, it is my favorite. Just on aesthetics. One, it's still just as capable, right? You train with it, and I can run it just as well as I would, a Mark 18. It has some obviously cons to, obviously like, mechanically and stuff, but like, no, that was the platform that I loved. I really, really liked. I do like it. I would like a P7, an HK P7, but that's just my hipster in me.
okay.
Because that's, that's not common over where we are, the stapler gun, but no, really, I love the Car 15. Yeah. So.
HNK P7?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not an HK fan per se, but that gun just, if it was an HK, it wouldn't have mattered. I just like the way that it's a good fidget toy. Like, I use guns as fidget toys sometimes. So, like, so being able to like push something like that, like a stapler, that's very like satisfying to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about you, Brian?
Oof. Like if you described like my dream, like if I could shoot something just to, so there's nothing that I would have just to have. Everything I would want to shoot, right? So like what would be an interesting and fun like gun that I would shoot a lot as a competition, like I would shoot it in competition, would be like an early, like a sort of circa 1990s performance 1911, like a Delta gun. Something like that I could shoot single stack with, or classic and IPSC, and like especially having one that was an actual unit gun would be pretty cool.
That'd be sick.
As a like, yep, this is this, and
That'd
it's a
be so
performance
cool.
gun, and kind of like the so those military 45s, not just a regular 1911 or 1911A1, but those military 45s, kind of like the National Match pistols that or the bullseye guns that that PWS made, that Marine Corps Precision Weapons Section. Or the MUSOC 45s, or those unit guns, where it's like, this is a performance shooting gun, but there's no custom, there's nothing on here that's just nice for the sake of being nice. Everything you have to shoot like every surface that you touch is not going to cut you because you got to use the thing all the time.
Yeah.
But it's like Parkerized, and like, yeah, there's no French borders, there's no fancy cuts or serrations. It's like it's a working gun, but it's designed to, you know, shoot well and that you want to shoot it a lot.
This is probably not the answers that you wanted because
No.
we're very practical people. You know, like I could have said I want that quad and 134 whatever that
Oh,
egg
the Dylan
thing.
like
That Dylan did, where I could just sit there and go wah and actually lay waste to nothing down range.
Yeah, actually,
That's so cool.
actually, you know what? Now that you said that, American 180.
Yeah, there you go. Boom.
That's like an
That'd be
actual.
cool.
Again, it's still on the practical side.
It's still
but, like,
practical.
yeah, so that's you know, a super crazy high cyclic rate 22 with a 180 round drum on the
Yeah,
top.
yeah.
That's so
like,
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, now I think I was like, nah, yeah, that. Someone makes an AR upper again like that for like a registered full auto lower.
Unfortunate.
Wow. If only I worked for a place that had a license to make full auto guns.
I don't know. You have to figure that one out.
Yeah, if only. That'd be pretty cool.
No, but those are cool answers. Everybody has a different approach. Someone is collector and want that like super rare stuff just to
Yeah.
have it, never shoot it, and you have got the other approach.
I mean, if it's a dream gun, then there's lots of things that I would also probably shoot if I could, you know, and like not worry about the value. So like, yeah, original Winchester 73s, for example. Like, would I shoot that a lot for me in matches and stuff? No, they're too valuable. But if it's my dream scenario, then like, yeah, I'd shoot one of those. Hell yeah. You know?
I'd
So
love
you
it.
would take two and one to shoot and one to keep, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love a Colt single action,
Nice.
but I don't want to spend $6,000 on a Colt single action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you guys? Like, what is your dream?
Damn.
I want my AK. Yeah. So the list is growing as we speak, because
You can say Laugo. It's fine. It's fine.
I can.
It's the same
I
situation
cannot-
with 6K, you know.
Yeah, that's the 6K problem, right? But yeah, I have two of these, but they are not mine. But I can, shoot the hell out of them. But that's like a different story when you own them. Maybe I wouldn't shoot the hell out of them if I would own them. But so that's a question mark. But as older I get, the list expands kind of. So at the moment, I pretty much have everything I just simply need for a practical side of things for competing. But I would love to collect more things I can shoot. I'm planning to shoot everything I own. I don't need to own anything just to be there, just sit in the safe. That's not my approach. But yeah, I think that the gun guy should own all the most famous platforms, I believe. So AR-15, AK, some shotguns, some pistols, like competition pistols, carry pistols. I would love to have the more options for carrying, for instance. So I only pick like 2 options at the moment. I would love to have at least 5. So I wake up in the morning. Today I feel like Glock 43.
Yeah.
And tomorrow I feel like freaking 1911 or whatever. So I just put it in the holster and go outside. But yeah, at the moment it's limited, because it's like a limited kind of budget on a certain thing.
Come
so
on, dream gun.
Yeah, we
Forget-
know
forget
that.
budgets.
Let
Like,
me
at
think.
the end of the day,
Let me think. You
Okay, I can.
you know
I
the
can-
answer.
I can
and
step
let
in.
me think. Let me just.
I can
yeah.
easily step in. Well, not so
is
easily,
that?
but in the past it was very easy answer for me because I was all into collecting, all into the rare prototypes of, for example, the Czech manufacturers or Kotsky brothers, the guys who invented most of the stuff. They are like the John Moses Browning of Czech Republic or Czechoslovakia back then. Legends. So. And it was much easier back then, but now I'm slowly transforming into a person who also wants to shoot a or have at least something that's usable, nothing like in a super rare thing in odd caliber you cannot really get, so you're never gonna shoot it yourself. So in the past, I would say it would be the ZH-29 rifle, which was one of the first semi-automatic rifles. Actually made. It actually competed in the tender for the semi-automatic rifle against the M1 Garand in the US, and it was the Czech rifle made back then.
What's that one with the big belly?
Johnson.
The Johnson,
oh
the
yeah,
Johnson
Johnson.
rifle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's another bucket list item for me.
And but nowadays I would probably go for
Boring.
It's not boring. Come on.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Oh, hold on. What's in the front there?
It's
That's called a barrel.
Thank you. This is very good.
no, it's aluminum grill for the ventilation, so better
Yeah, that's
better
like a
cooling
JP
down.
ventilator.
Sorry?
You know,
Exactly.
It's like a JP.
Then
Yeah.
ventilator.
Oh, yeah.
But OG.
Just better.
So they gradually sold it to JP.
So they need to thank you. Got it.
So
Okay. It's weird. It kind of looks like a BAR and like a Mauser in the front, kind of, and then it's like
I think
weird.
it looks like
it's ridiculous in some
It's like
ways,
a bunch
you know?
of stuff put together.
Yeah.
kind of looks like a ZH-29.
Shut up.
But what I would change, I would probably go to the more modern thing, and that would be the ZK420S, which was developed by the Kotsky guys right at the end of the war, Second World War, and it's basically the M14 but made 8 years before the M14.
Okay.
Same operating system or it's
Very similar. Very similar. It even looks very similar.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, basically. What's
at that.
what's it chambered in?
It's 8mm Mauser.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I actually shot this one, the prototype one, and it
Really?
shoots amazingly.
That's cool.
It's great stuff. So
Did we do it together?
yeah, we did it together.
Oh yeah.
That
That's
video.
super cool.
And you shot it too.
Did I?
And yes.
Yeah.
And
I did it.
but
Once it has the wood on it, I don't remember.
talking price wise, we are talking something around like 15K or something like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
So
Oh, yeah,
super
sure.
expensive stuff.
I remember this moment. It's actually very.
There's
that-
just a couple of them left.
That
in the
describes
world.
us a lot. So the Carl took a significant effort to get this.
Yeah.
And take it to the ranch and being able to record it and shoot it.
Mhm.
And I was just joining him, and he was asking me to help him out with holding the phone to record it. And of course, I used the opportunity to shoot it. But he was super excited about it. He was like, what? Okay, I hope this works and everything. And I was like, yeah, wood. Yeah, wooden rifle, nice, nice. And it was like, you know what's behind this? And he was telling me
Yeah.
the stories about the development.
I
and
like the part where the sling goes. Like,
yeah.
like that looks cool.
And I was like, nice, yeah. Charging handle here,
You
nice.
could have brought one of us there. We would apprapprite it with you.
Oh yeah.
We would appreciate
It's
it.
even if you look at the you see that I'm excited about it.
Yeah, and,
even
but vice versa. Every time I'm excited about something, he's like, anyway, yeah.
True.
Yeah.
It actually was developed around the same year as the AK-47, and it has actually similarities with AK-47 too inside.
See.
So you're
Yeah.
like, were they like developing the thing at the same time, or
Well, I
were
mean,
they
the gas
connected
system on
together?
an AK is essentially just an M1 Garand upside down.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's still a
yeah,
long straight.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
not so. you know.
It was definitely a hugely what's the word for that?
Say it in Czech. I'll help you.
I cannot find the word in Czech. Influenced. It was
Okay.
heavily influenced by the M1 Garand, absolutely, through the Second World War, as was the M14,
Yep.
as the next generation, let's say, on M1 Garand. But this was like 8 years before the
Yeah.
M14,
Oh, yeah.
so I was
That's
like,
so cool.
It's like, you know, it'd be really cool is if this had a magazine.
exactly, easy.
Yeah. So that reminds me of the platforms. So we usually want what we cannot get. So it's usually something American you guys don't ship to the Europe
Oh,
because it's freaking ITAR
Right.
or something. So it's being the flux defense stuff as we speak, and also the mean arms. So
Oh, yeah.
so at the moment, no one's really bringing it into the country, and lots of PCC boys are kind of passionate about it.
Yeah.
And after today's experience shooting this gun, I want it even more. So yeah, that's something, and I believe it works same for you guys. So it's usually
well,
something
that's
you
like-
cannot
yeah.
get.
Yeah,
Like this.
usually.
So
Yeah, that's kind of like because I did run I'm not an AK guy. I'm a gun guy, so I'm into AKs because I'm a gun guy.
Sure.
But I started a AK match called Red October.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Back in 2015, I think it was, or 16 was the first year. But I didn't even realize there was like an actual AK. Like,
But you guys ended up using IWIs, right?
Yeah, we allow the Galils.
Yeah,
It's-
to kind of trick the rules.
Well, no, I mean it's really hard to say that's not an AK. Like you look at it, it's
Yeah,
like,
but it's just modern.
it's like I mean it's any more. It's like okay,
It's
by
like
the
AK
same
with cool
logic.
features.
By the same logic,
AK
like you
with
look at an
bottle
AK.
What?
AK with bottle opener.
Yeah,
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 there
a
is a
Galil-
bottle opener underneath
Yeah,
on the
forend.
ARM, yeah.
Yep.
But you look at even a Galil Ace Gen 2, like the newest one from IWI, right? You look at it. Number one, there's actually continuity from the first Galil ARM or whatever it was, all the way through to the Ace Gen 2 that they have now. I don't love those guns. They're like but like it's really hard for me to look and say no. You can shoot a Galil Ace. Or you can shoot a Galil ARM, like that's AK enough, but the Ace Gen 2 isn't. By the same logic, I would say, like, yeah, you can shoot an AKM, but you can't shoot like an AK-12. Because that's just the continued evolution of the same platform that the Russians have done, where it's really the same thing. As opposed to people like, oh, I want to shoot a SIG 550. It's like, that's not really the same thing. It's just a long stroke piston. It's not. It's like saying an M1 Garand is an AK because it's a long stroke piston. Yeah, so is a Robinson XCR. It's not an AK. Anyway, that's aside. Rabbit trail over to like, yeah, we allow the Galil because it's an AK. And I think you probably tell, I do know a little bit about AKs and how that'll work because I didn't realize there was an actual like little community of AK collectors and kind of AK nerds. Did not know that when I started that match. Kind of knew it was a thing. Didn't realize it was so big. So like big in the U.S. are like Dragunovs or an AK-12, for example, like AK-12 parts kits. We got a few of them from somewhere.
Oh,
and
Dragunovs are hard to get.
yeah,
Even here.
They're just expensive.
yeah,
here?
the SVD.
Yeah, they're pretty
that's
expensive.
just pricey.
And
Which-
usually can get the Chinese knockoffs.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah, we
easiest.
couldn't
Or
get those either,
Romanians,
so.
the PSL Romac.
We could get PSLs. But having used the actual SVD,
I'll never shoot that platform.
I'm gonna go
Ever.
ahead and just I guess
It
this
looks
is-
good, doesn't work.
Here's a hot take.
Yeah, it's a
No, it
pretty
sucks.
looking. It's a
It's
pretty
a
looking
nice
rifle.
war trophy, right?
It's
It really is. It looks like it just reminds me like I'm a sand people person, like firing, projectile rifles. That's what it is. Like,
look, we were talking about a Mark 12, right? Even though an SVD is like 762 by 54R, and it's much more powerful than this. Like, no, it's like give anyone a Mark 12, they're gonna get more hits farther out than an SVD. Like that gun as an actual gun is only interesting because we can't get it. Anyone who has to actually do the job it was intended for, like a Palmetto AR with like a decent ass scope with an ACOG, is probably a better tool.
right.
Yeah. But you guys know the video when the guy found he was shooting the Glock like an ape, and then he found it was like Glock, throwing some shots off range, and then he opened the box, and there was a SIG. Oh, I can hear, I can think, I can see. You guys are not aware of that video?
No.
That's
a
freaking
good
brilliant. That's like one of you guys. That's what,
What do you mean?
like some random US guy doing a video like this.
Is this old?
No.
This is recent.
No,
it's like 2-3 years old.
So this is before the SIG stuff.
No, it was still that gun's basically the 320s have been.
It was 365 in the box, but
I'm going to go find this video after.
No,
this.
we'll play it to you later
Okay.
on.
Yeah.
I'll try to find it, Carl.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
go
yeah.
ahead, and I will try to find it. Wow, what should I type in?
What is it gonna be?
Glock and SIG video? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was like very popular on Instagram, I believe. Carl,
I'm not gonna help you.
Maybe I've seen it, but it doesn't ring a bell.
So back to the Red October.
That's because of the wooden rifles? Is it so?
Yes. I don't want to interrupt it with videos.
No, so we'll show it later on.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
So Red
myself.
October, big community of the AK guys. That's where we left the topic, right? Or
Yeah. What was it? We're talking about guns that we can't get that you can.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
like learning the AK community. It's like, oh yeah, the AK-12 or any of those. It's like it's neat from a collectible perspective, but it really isn't good. And it's not even that collectible. It's only because we can't get them.
yeah,
You know.
13-year-old Somali boy can.
Yeah, exactly. And like over there, it's like, dude, you wouldn't want it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
or for example, like I shot a interesting little match when I was in Bulgaria, and they had like some club rifles, and they were AKMs.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, I looked at the arsenal marking on mine. It's like, oh, it's a 1968 like Izhevsk AKM. Like, oh yeah, they made a lot of those, right? They're kind of all over, except in the U.S. because of the sanctions that we've had since 2014, and kind of before that, some weirdness, import bans, the way that works for parts. Like a 1968 Izhevsk AKM parts kit would be like a couple $1,000s for a cut up AKM. They're like, oh yeah, really? This shit costs like $400.
Yeah. Like, exactly.
Because and they're like, yeah, and it sucks. You know, it's like their perception of that gun. Because if you're trying to do regular rifle stuff, a 1968 AKM, if you're just looking at it from a performance perspective, that kind of sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same thing with the Dragunov. It's like, this is neat from a collectible perspective because you can't get it. And I guess if my options were an AKM or an SVD and I had to do like designated marksman stuff, I guess I'd like an SVD. You know.
No, I just
because of the
I just
cartridge.
found Miss Glock. Miss Glock is everywhere. Yeah.
So.
No luck. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. You want to hit the desert island?
Yes.
All right. So you tell the story.
Shoot. Okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy. So imagine that you are about to be left on a desert island. You don't know what's gonna be there. If it's gonna be jungle, if it's gonna be desert or whatever. If there are gonna be people or no people or animals, and you need to pick one long gun and one like pistol to survive there.
Do we apply the gun ban?
And we apply a gun ban there.
We have to do it, guys. It's not because of you guys are Americans. It's because we hear it so much.
So no ARs
and
no Glocks.
Okay.
And one more important thing is that you don't have to be bothered with the ammo. Like how much ammo you get.
You are
just
blessed.
figure we have enough
You're
ammo.
You are
blessed.
blessed. So the
ammo.
container with the ammo landed with you.
Okay. Well, it can't be an AR. How strictly are we defining what an AR is?
You want to go technical or not?
You
Do we
can
just
try.
know AR-15? Just know the operating system. I can't walk around with this operating system. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I would do a bolt-action 17 HMR.
Okay.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I can schwack. You can schwack a deer.
That's a
You can schwack a squirrel.
spicy round.
You can do it with that round.
I have my doubts about 17 on a deer, and this is from a guy who's like,
I know.
I go pretty small on like ain't an animal built that has like AR 500 bones.
Sure.
But like 17s, having shot 17 HMR like kind of a lot. I have like 3 of them.
Sure.
That's you're definitely going to hit everything you try to with small game.
Sure.
And like if I'd feel comfortable shooting stuff out to 200 with that, you know, with not the wind gets rough, but still.
That's fair. But like I said, in this case, like I would be very comfortable with the bolt action 17 HMR, and I would have it with a 947 X8 because it's lighter. It's going to be durable. It's going to last a long time, and a pistol.
Interesting. That's possibly
That's for the first time.
Yeah,
17 HMR. Someone mentioned.
Yeah. And I like the round. Yeah.
That's pretty base though.
It's based.
Yeah.
And a pistol.
And it's like a 2 to 3 of the washing machine.
Yeah.
After the washing
After the wash.
Yeah.
I'm thinking between a suppressed Mark IV or.
I was going to pick a suppressed 22 pistol for mine too.
right. So
That's on my list too.
Ruger Mark IV.
So so a suppressed Ruger Mark IV. Yeah. Exactly.
That's like an ultimate assassin gun.
Yep. And then I would make sure I would have an 8-point C2, like an enclosed optic that would be fine.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So and sorry, the HMR is suppressed as well.
So you would go small caliber.
I would go small caliber because I
Okay.
can carry a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to just defend myself necessarily. I'm just trying to survive. And that operating system will work pretty much majority of the time if I need to, because it's a manual operating system.
Depends on the bolt gun, but yeah.
I will agree. I understand. But I'm saying, like, as a manual action, right, it's if I'm relying on a semi-auto action like a Ruger 1022 or something, that will probably fail before the bolt action.
Yeah.
would.
And it will scare off the bow people.
Well, they won't hear it because it's just gonna be a little like I just stepped on because it's going to be suppressed.
Maybe you can consider taking a suppressor off.
Hell no. Like you're going to enter an area and then you're not going to exist after that. Like that's the goal there.
Oh, I see.
Be in hell wondering what happened.
Correct.
I see. So just falling people for no reason,
No.
From the point of perspective of the bow people.
Oh, fair. Yeah.
Like,
fair. And I can fire a bolt action faster than I can a bow. So yeah.
yeah. That's interesting.
Do you agree with that, or you have your own approach?
It's interesting, right? So
it's M60.
Unlimited links. Just Predator.
yeah, that's
basically.
Exactly.
No.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, go to the chopper.
So it can't be an AR-15 or an AR, right? So it can't be like an AR-10, which I wouldn't really want anyway. So I think it would probably be a 223, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say maybe something that's not an AR, but is still a semi-auto 223. Like maybe, so basically as close as I could get to being an AR without being an AR, just per the.
So
We're following.
AR-18 platform. AR-18 platform.
Yeah, maybe like I was thinking like a Scar or like a Bren, something like that. That's reasonably close, but something that works suppressed. So I'm trying to think of what else would fit into that category right now.
I'm thinking in your head you're going. If you're saying AR-15, I'm assuming Scar is out of the picture. Is that what you're saying too? Because it's got the same controls.
We're basically running
It
like
doesn't
Canadian.
have the buffer tube, but it has the rotary.
No, it's AR-18. It's not the AR-15.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's piston operated.
If we're running like Canadian rules, basically,
It's
where
allowed.
they like.
It's allowed.
It's allowed.
Yeah. Like Canadian
we
law
allow it.
specifically,
It's
like AR-15s are not okay, or like Austrian, I think they have some weird thing where it's like.
It's okay, guys.
It's okay. It's that good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good guys. AR-18, they're good guys. Don't get me wrong.
So I
It's
think
funny.
probably still a 223 because I can I don't think there's anything on an island that's not going to fall if I shoot it where it matters with a. It gives me options, right? 17, I could still kill just about anything if I shoot it like around the eye.
Sure.
But 223 through the shoulder will kill most things, like with good bullets, which we have plentiful of per the parameters that were set.
Yeah.
But the idea of a bolt gun is interesting. A bolt gun that I could run fast. So like either a straight pull.
Ooh.
Like Swiss.
I don't know. See, this is where I'm kind of like.
Schmidt-Rubin, or which
Well,
one?
no, because I still like 223, so I don't really know what exists in that space except for maybe like.
Can it be a fake gun? Can you say just that rifle with 10.223?
Well,
How
in
about the
that
new
case, right?
Beretta?
If I could get.
Do
like
they
a
make the new Beretta in 223?
That new Beretta,
Probably,
and there's
yes.
a Benelli. Now, the Benelli is still a turn bolt, though. That new Beretta was the Lupo or something like that. Benelli Lupo was the
Oh, it's like BRX or something like that.
yeah. In 223, either a straight pull, maybe that, or if there was a Blazer or something like that.
That'd be sick.
Even in Enfield, except that Enfields in 223, A, don't exist, and B, probably wouldn't work because like the 308s kind of barely eject, and 223 is even smaller. Nope. Delisle carbine.
Really?
What is that?
Really?
Oh, Delisle? The
Delisle.
suppressed one?
Yeah.
303? Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Well,
no,
it's
it's a 9
suppressed
millimeter.
45.
Oh, 45.
Yeah,
Yeah,
45.
you're right.
You want to check?
That's
that?
interesting because that's like running 10 or.
It's based on Lee Enfield, but it uses the Colt 1911 magazines and
Yep,
shoots
it's
the
just
45, and it's like whole
You
barrel is
shot it in
suppressed.
New
I shot it
Zealand.
in New Zealand, yeah.
Oh.
It's basically put a giant carburetor in the fucking. No, carburetor.
Yeah. It's super
Yeah.
quiet.
Yeah.
Book.
Yeah.
That with like, and it would still be irons, like good iron sights. It's either that or like a Tikka T3X 223. Like I have this gun actually. It's an 18-inch It's a T3X light, so like a sporter barrel, cut to 18 inches and threaded. I put the muzzle device on for an AEM5 suppressor, so the Mark 12 suppressor, onto an 18-inch Tikka bolt gun, so it's hella quiet. I can run it fast because the Tikka actions are quick and smooth for a turn bolt.
Yeah.
And if I could fit them like the irons off of the Canadian Arctic Rangers rifle.
It would be practical to say that I would also choose like a Q fix or no Q. What is that? 6.8?
Yeah, the fix. Yeah.
Yeah, like that 6.8 bolt action. It's like super short.
Yep.
Put a can on that. That's basically chucking a bowling ball at everything you want.
Yeah, 6.8. Yeah. So for this scenario, we're kind of both gravitating. I would still, if I don't know what I got to shoot, like I can shoot a semi-auto fine, like a semi-auto 223. So something that just fits the idea of like not an AR, but still semi-auto 223 that's accurate and preferably works with a can. For the pistol though, right? Actually, it would be a 4 1/4 inch like Marvel style 22 conversion 1911 with a suppressor.
That's sick.
Okay.
Because it's a 1911, which is correct.
It's approved by God.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But a 4 1/4, like a commander length, and then like maybe a 3-inch can that's kind of a bigger diameter, so I can still holster the thing. It's not oppressive.
Yeah.
With like a set of good Bomar sights on it.
Okay.
All right.
So
By the
both
way,
22
it seems
pistols.
like the Beretta BRX1 does not come into the 3.
I didn't figure.
Unfortunate.
But yeah, I do like me a 223 bolt gun.
Those are fun.
Yeah, sure thing. All right. Is there anything else you would love to discuss, guys? Where do we
You see yourself in 5 years?
It's like a typical
Hopefully still employed.
typical HR question. Yeah. But what's your future plans? Where our listeners can see you in the future?
You have a longer answer. Mine's pretty short.
On the range.
Yeah, we're both gonna be shooting the World Shoot here in May. So we would be both. He'll be obviously in pistol irons. I'll be doing PCC optics most likely. Did I say pistol irons? Sorry, PCC irons. Excuse me. We're just traveling a lot, working a lot with company. So doing a lot of stuff that's behind the scenes in the aspect of what we do. So. I'm not as active on social media as I should be, but I'm not really into that. I just tend to be private. And I just do.
Good for you, man.
I just like to enjoy. I like to enjoy my time and hang out with people and
Post things that are of interest.
Of interest,
that's
right?
That's the best way to do that.
Yeah, that's it. So really, my social media stuff is all just shooting stuff once in a while, and that's about it. So, but yeah, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, shooting the PCC World Shoot. I'll be back for the European Shotgun Championship in June, and that's so like basically on the shooting side, personal life. Allegedly, I have one. On the shooting side, like up till PCC World Shoot, it's a hard focus on that. So I'm shooting really like 1 or 2 matches, and then the World Shoot after that, it's a hard switch to focus on shotgun for 2026 in Greece. I'm trying to make our open division team. We have some really strong shooters there, so making the team would be excellent, and then shooting that as well as I can, and then it'll be a quick pivot to rifle for 2027 in Mongolia.
Yep.
So the next rifle will be in Mongolia.
Sorry?
So the next rifle is going to be
I think that's what I heard, yeah. Yeah, so that's going to be real
that's super
real
cool.
interesting.
I need to qualify for that because Mongolia is super cool, guys.
I've been to
there.
Yeah, I've been there too.
Carl too, and it's hell of the experience.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. Everything is Genghis. It's
Yeah.
Genghis vodka, Genghis city centers, Genghis bus.
Yeah,
Everything
you know
is
what?
Genghis.
I would, and I know it's correct to call him Chinggis, but in my mind it's always Genghis. I know. It's like
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I'm very sorry for consuming your time. I know that you are leaving this country very soon.
Yep, my flight is in 11 and a half hours.
Nice. So
Yeah.
I probably stole a lot of sleeping from you.
Yeah, that was great.
But at least I made you tired for so you can sleep.
Sleep
while
on a
flying.
Make the transit just that much easier.
Yeah.
It's so much easier.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you very
Was
soon,
fun.
which is good. And by then, all the best. And thank you.
Sick, man. Thanks, guys.
thank you very much for having us.
Yeah.
And see you guys next time with the new episode of Czech Firearms Podcast.
Stay safe, guys. Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.